Hi.
I'm Yu, and I never thought I'd be the kind of person who inherits anything. Both my parents died when I was little. I grew up in an orphanage. I barely survived college thanks to student loans and working every odd job I could find. And then, just my luck, I graduated right into an economic downturn. Couldn't find a job anywhere. So there I was, a proud college graduate, selling breakfast from a street cart. Living the dream, right? Then one day, my phone rings. Some lawyer tells me a distant relative just died and left me a villa. He asked if I wanted to inherit it. Yes. Yes, I do. I shoved my breakfast cart back to my tiny rented room, grabbed my ID, and practically sprinted to the address he gave me. And,
Oh my God.
this place was a 3-story mansion with a garden and a swimming pool. I literally started drooling. The lawyer, some guy in a fancy suit, let me look around but weirdly refused to go inside himself. I didn't think much of it. I was too busy having a spiritual experience. 4 floors.
A pool.
I felt like I'd won the lottery. Then came the paperwork. Apparently, this old lady named Manhwa left me the place.
She was like,
My cousin's uncle's brother's nephew's grandma? I have no idea. We were related through about 18 detours on the family tree, but I was the only one eligible to inherit. Lucky me. I'd never met this woman in my life, but I nodded solemnly and said, yes, dear great-knee never forgot about me. I didn't even know what to call her. The lawyer pulled out a stack of documents. Sign here, and the house is yours. I grabbed the pen. But then, one more thing. Ms. Liu had some medical debts. If you inherit, you also inherit 2.6 million yuan in debt. I dropped the pen like it was on fire. 2 million? I still think my 40,000 yuan student loan is too much. Keep the house. Pay the debt yourself. I shoved the papers back at him. The lawyer didn't even blink. He just said very calmly, the villa is worth 120 million yuan. I snatched those papers back so fast. Oh, dear great-auntie. Of course, I'll honor your wishes. I can't let our family's legacy fall into the hands of strangers. How would I face our ancestors? I was practically in tears. Very dramatic. Very convincing. I barely remember my own dad's name, let alone any ancestors, but hey, 120 million is 120 million. I signed everything in about 5 seconds, got the keys, and floated home on a cloud of joy. I moved in that same day. Hauled all my stuff from my crappy rented room in garbage bags. The security guard at the villa complex tried to stop me, thought I was there to dig through the trash. Fair enough, my luggage did look like trash. But I flashed the keys and suddenly, he was my best friend, pulling out a little cart to help me with my bags. That lasted until he saw which villa I was moving into. Why, you're the new owner of Villa number 13? That's right, I said proudly. My dear great-auntie left it too. He dropped the cart and ran. Weird guy. Probably just jealous. The villa was a bit creepy, honestly. Nobody had lived there in a while. The garden was a graveyard of dead plants, and the survivors had gone full jungle mode. But whatever, it was mine. I slept like a baby that first night. Best sleep of my life. Then the next morning, reality punched me in the face. Tax on inheriting the property. 3.6 million. Notary fees? 240,000. Stamp duty? 60,000. And if I sell the place? 20% income tax. That's 24 million yuan right there. I sat there counting on my fingers. Inheritance costs plus the old lady's debt came to about 30.5 million. But 120 million minus all that still left me with roughly 89 million. 89 million. That's still an insane profit. There was just one tiny little problem. Where the heck was I supposed to get the 3 million I needed up front just to officially inherit this thing? My entire net worth was a breakfast cart and some garbage bags full of clothes. So remember how I was worried about where to find 3 million yuan? Yeah, the universe wasn't done with me yet. The very next morning, some property management lady showed up at my door with a bill. Turns out, dear great-knee hadn't paid her property fees or utilities for 2 years. And now, as the proud new owner, guess who gets to cover the tab? That'll be 268,800 yuan for the overdue fees. And while we're at it, this year's fees are 134,400 yuan. So your total comes to 403,200 yuan. But if you pay all at once, we'll give you a discount, just 400,000 even. Wow. A whole 3,200 yuan off. So generous.
I'm truly blessed.
She explained that my villa is 560 square meters, and the fee is 20 yuan per square meter per month. So that's 11,200 yuan a month. Every month, just to live here. I had less than 3,000 yuan to my name. Total, including coins. After she left, I lay down on the fancy living room floor and stared at the ceiling, questioning every life decision that led me here. This villa wasn't an inheritance, it was a money pit. A financial black hole dressed up in marble and swimming pools. I needed to sell this thing immediately. I called a real estate agency. Told them I had a villa in Golden Bay worth 120 million. Even said the buyer just needed to front me 4 million for the transfer costs. Should be easy money for them, right? Huge commission. But the moment I said, Villa number 13, Golden Bay, the agent suddenly couldn't help me. Called another agency.
Same thing.
And another.
Same thing.
What was wrong with these people? Were they allergic to money? I found out that night. I was sleeping like a rock when crash.
Bang.
Clatter. Something downstairs was making a racket. My first thought, burglars. My second thought, I own nothing worth stealing, but okay. I pressed my ear against the bedroom door. The sounds were muffled, random, like something heavy dropping on the floor, over and over. No way was I going down there alone. I grabbed the property fee bill, the only useful thing that lady left me, found the property management number and called. Hello? Someone broke into my house. Send help. The moment I said Villa 13, the guy on the other end sounded like he was the one being robbed. I'll call the police for you. Just wait. Click. 10 minutes later, a police car pulled up. I nearly cried with relief. And, of course, right on cue, the noises stopped. Because why would they make this easy for me? The cops, one security guard, and I searched the entire villa top to bottom. Nothing. No sign of entry. No evidence of anyone. No broken windows, no footprints, no nothing. I swear I heard those sounds. I'm not crazy. We checked the security cameras outside. Nobody had come anywhere near Villa 13. Then the security guard, who'd been quietly trembling behind the police officers this whole time, finally spoke up. There's never anyone. This isn't the first time. And then he told us the story. Apparently, even when Great Annie was still alive and trying to sell the place, weird noises started happening. Random crashes, bangs, sounds with no source. The property company even sent someone to sleep over and investigate. That guy lasted until midnight before he ran out screaming, ghosts, and presumably never returned. People who came to view the house would have nightmares that same night. Word spread. The legend grew. Villa 13 became the most famous haunted house in the entire city. Every real estate agent in town had been asked to sell it. None of them would touch it. Even Great Annie herself got spooked and moved out. I stood there, processing this information. I had inherited a haunted house. Not just any haunted house, a celebrity haunted house. The kind with a reputation. The police couldn't do much. Maybe you were just hearing things, they said helpfully and left. So there I was, alone, in front of my haunted mansion, with a security guard who was actively pretending I didn't exist, so I wouldn't ask him to stay. I called the lawyer in a panic. I changed my mind. I don't want the house anymore. Sorry, MS.
Lou.
It's already yours, but I haven't even gotten the new property certificate yet. That's just paperwork. Legally and morally, this house belongs to you. It's a haunted house. Did you know that? Not my problem anymore, MS.
Lou.
My job ended when I handed you the keys. Also, if you call again, I charge 200 yuan per minute for consultation. This one's on the house. Click. I couldn't go back to the villa. Not at night. Not alone. So, I figured I'd find a hotel nearby. Small problem. Golden Bay is a luxury neighborhood. The cheapest hotel was 900 yuan a night. 900. For one night. I walked right back out. I tried a few more places. All insane prices. I ended up standing under a streetlight, seriously reconsidering my entire existence. Then some drunk guy came stumbling down the sidewalk, spotted me, and slowed down. Just staring. Not moving. Just staring.
Nope.
I bolted into the nearest hotel, and when I saw him still lurking outside, I gritted my teeth and booked a room. 900 yuan.
Gone. Poof.
Lying in that hotel bed, I wanted to slap myself. I had a perfectly good villa with 4 floors and a swimming pool, and here I was burning money on a hotel because of some bumps in the night. You know what?
Ghosts aren't that scary.
You know what is scary? Being broke. That drunk creep outside was scarier than any ghost. And I'd already slept in the villa one night without dying, hadn't I? The ghost had been doing its thing for 2 years and nobody actually got hurt. Why would it start with me?
I'm not that special.
So the next morning, after stress eating the hotel breakfast to get my money's worth, I marched back to Villa 13. I stood at the front door.
Took a deep breath.
Gave myself a pep talk. Then went inside. I was going to search every inch of this place and figure out what was going on, ghost or no ghost. I checked every room, every closet, every corner. Nothing weird. Finally, I made it to the basement garage. The villa had an elevator, fancy, so I rode it down to the underground level. The garage was completely empty. Not even junk. But I noticed some kind of pattern or drawing on the far wall, so I walked toward it to get a better look. I made it about halfway across when wham! My forehead slammed into something. Something that wasn't there. Like walking face first into an invisible wall. My knees buckled. I crashed backwards onto the concrete floor, and my last conscious thought was, "Oh God, I hit a ghost." Then everything went black. When I opened my eyes, I was still lying on the garage floor, staring at the ceiling. Then I remembered I hit a ghost and scrambled to my feet like my life depended on it. Which, it probably did. I was running for the elevator when I glanced back and nearly had a heart attack. Right in the middle of the previously empty garage was a swirling black vortex.
Just
hovering there, like a portal someone forgot to turn off. I smashed the elevator button approximately 400 times. And then, from behind me, a voice, cold, echoey, and deeply judgmental, said, "TSH, that's all the courage you've got? No wonder you're broke." I stopped. Look, I grew up in an orphanage. I've seen kids go hungry. I've seen people too poor to see a doctor. I spent years with an empty stomach and holes in my shoes. Money is the most important thing in the world to me, and I can never seem to get enough of it. So when some mysterious voice from a black hole called me out like that, it hit different. Also, good point. If this thing wanted to kill me, it could have done it while I was knocked out cold on the floor. Why wait? I turned around. There was nothing there except the swirling vortex. "Who are you?" I asked, trying to sound brave. "Can you help me make money?" The vortex spun faster, and the voice came again, dripping with arrogance. "I am the greatest door in existence, the space-time door. And the only reason I'm showing myself to you is because you're a descendant of my creator. But then you try to sell the house I live in. You ungrateful child. A space-time door. A space.
Time. Door."
Every ounce of fear evaporated instantly. My brain went into overdrive. "Can you take me to a cultivation world? Like in those immortal martial arts novels? I could fly on swords and live forever. Dunno. Ancient China? I could be an empress. No. Space? Giant robots? Advanced medicine? Not. Really? Oh God, please don't say it's a zombie apocalypse world. I do not want to fight zombies. Definitely not zombies. Okay, good. So where can you take me? A world rich in resources, beautiful scenery, simple, honest people. You'll see when you get there." That actually sounded pretty nice. So I asked for the details. Turns out, the space-time door was an ancient magical artifact created by one of my ancestors thousands of years ago. It fell asleep after some accident and only woke up 2 years ago, which is when all the haunting started. The problem was, the only person around was Great Auntie, who was old, half-deaf, and responded to mysterious supernatural phenomena by trying to sell the house. The door panicked. It could only be fed energy by members of the Liu family. If someone else bought the house, it would starve to death. So it did the only logical thing. It haunted the place so aggressively that nobody would buy it. Great auntie died. I showed up. The door saw its chance. I've been starving for 2 years, it told me. At my current energy level, I can last 1 more month. I can send you through once a day for 30 minutes each trip. After 30 minutes, you must come back. If you miss the window, you're stuck there until the next day. And the energy you need, anything you bring back from the other world carries energy. When it passes through me, I absorb half. Plants, minerals, fruits, lots of things over there are rich in energy. That didn't sound too hard. Grab some cool magic rocks and exotic fruits, feed the portal, keep the portal alive. Simple. I was picturing spiritual energy like in all those cultivation novels. Mystical, glowing crystals. Legendary herbs. This was going to be amazing. One more thing. The door said, suddenly serious. Once we form our contract, only you can see me. And over there, nobody can protect you. If you die for real. Are you sure about this? I straightened up. I'm sure. Let's do this. Fortune favors the bold, right? And at least I could come back. That's better than most Ice Guy protagonists get. The door seemed impressed. Not bad. You've got some guts after all. A wisp of black mist separated from the vortex and wrapped around my wrist. I felt something burn into my very soul, like a brand being pressed into my brain. For a second, the pain was blinding. Then it was over, and I had a tiny black swirl tattooed on my wrist. The contract is sealed. You may now travel through me. Remember, 30 minutes per trip, 1 month to recharge me. If you fail, you will fall into eternal sleep alongside me. And then it went quiet. Just shut off, like a TV someone unplugged.
Wait.
What do you mean, eternal sleep? Hey, did you just scam me? What aren't you telling me? Nothing. Total silence. The thing ghosted me. Literally. I yelled for a while, then gave up. Fine. I'd deal with the eternal sleep clause later. First things first, let's go check out this other world. Time to pack. I made a list. 1 large burlap sack. For loot, obviously. 1 fruit knife. Don't judge me. It was the most dangerous thing I owned. Changed into long sleeves, long pants, and sneakers. Exploration outfit. Activated. Phone. Doubles as a flashlight. Water bottle. Tissues. Lighter. Plastic bags. Rope. I would have loved a stun gun, a military shovel, maybe a gas mask, proper adventuring gear. But I didn't own any of that, and ordering online would take days and waste today's trip. Good enough. Let's go. I went back to the garage, pressed my hand against the door, and everything went dark. When I opened my eyes, I was in a cave. Stone walls, stone floor, stone everything. The space-time door glowed faintly on the rock wall behind me. My escape route. Good. I gripped my fruit knife, my mighty weapon, and crept toward the light at the cave entrance. It was only a few dozen steps. I turned the corner, and green. Everywhere. Grass as far as I could see, trees so thick and tall they blocked out the sky. It looked like a primeval forest untouched by human civilization. Where the heck did that door send me? There wasn't a single person in sight. Actually, maybe that was a good thing. Who knows what species lived here? What if they weren't human? Last thing I needed was to get captured on my first trip. I found a stick near the cave entrance and started poking the grass ahead of me to scare off any critters hiding in it. That's when I noticed something weird. The grass was really tall and really thick. Suspiciously tall, suspiciously thick. Like, way bigger than grass should be. It didn't take long to confirm my suspicion. The grass wasn't just kind of big, it was definitely big. Everything was supersized here. Some random weed had leaves bigger than my face. The vines on the ground were as thick as rope. I stepped on one and nearly screamed because I thought it was a snake. Every plant I could see was at least 1 size category larger than anything back on Earth. This was clearly not my world. 10 out of 10 would not recommend for a casual stroll. I checked my phone.
10:20 a.m.
I had to be back by 10:50 and the walk back would take time, so I basically had 15 minutes to explore.
Great.
15 whole minutes to discover the secrets of an alien dimension. I pushed through the overgrown jungle for about 10 minutes.
No paths. No footprints.
No signs of civilization whatsoever. Just grass, trees, and more grass. I gave up going forward and started heading back. On the way, I walked slower, scanning the ground for anything useful. I mean, I couldn't come all the way to another dimension and leave empty-handed. What if there was wild ginseng? That stuff's worth a fortune. Did I have absolutely no idea what ginseng looks like? Mental note: buy a plant identification book when I get home. Then I spotted something I did recognize. Dark green, tube-shaped leaves, about 60 centimeters tall, smooth surface. I pushed aside the weeds and checked the base. Grayish-white bulbs clustered together. Wild green onions. Now, I know what you're thinking. Luchinyu, you traveled to another dimension and you're excited about onions. But listen, I'm a street food vendor. Onions are my life. Regular green onions cost about 8 yuan a pound. Wild ones go for maybe 10. And these babies? They were gorgeous. I pulled up a whole bunch. Then I found something else. Goji leaves. They weren't flowering yet, so the leaves were still tender and edible. And because everything in this world is oversized, each leaf was the size of my palm. I pulled out my trusty fruit knife and hacked off a huge armful. Enough for several days of meals. I didn't find anything else, mostly because my botanical knowledge begins and ends with things I can cook. By 10:47, I was back in the cave. 3 minutes to spare. I stepped through the door. The moment I landed in my garage, the door's voice echoed. Energy item detected. Wild green onions. Energy value: 0.5. Energy item detected. Goji leaves. Energy value: 0.70. It talks again. I tried asking it questions. Nothing. Dead silence. It had literally said 2 sentences and gone back to sleep like a narcoleptic robot. I gave up and looked at what I'd brought back. These onions and leaves supposedly contained energy, but honestly, they just looked like really nice produce. A bit bigger, a bit greener, nothing that screamed magical interdimensional superfood. Only one way to find out. Time to cook. My kitchen situation was humble. I'd brought everything from my old rental in woven plastic bags. My entire pantry consisted of half a bag of rice, maybe 10 pounds, a quarter bag of flour, about 5 pounds, left over from my bun-making days, a small army of condiments, oil, salt, soy sauce, light and dark, thank you very much, cooking wine, sugar, oyster sauce, starch, white vinegar, a plastic bag of random spices and yeast, and my pride and joy, a 3-tier bamboo steamer that could crank out 80 buns at once. Plus my second-hand food cart tricycle, currently parked in the villa's garden, looking extremely out of place. I decided to make scallion pancakes. I mixed flour with warm water and a pinch of salt, kneaded it until smooth, divided it into 4 portions, brushed them with oil, and set them aside to rest. Then the oil scallion paste. Just some dry flour, chopped green onions, salt, and a splash of smoking hot oil poured right over everything. The second that hot oil hit those onions, my kitchen exploded with fragrance. I'm not exaggerating. The smell was unreal. Like someone had taken the essence of every delicious scallion pancake ever made and concentrated it into a single moment. My mouth was watering so hard I was basically a fountain. After the dough rested for 40 minutes, I rolled each piece into a rectangle, spread on the scallion paste, sprinkled extra chopped onions, rolled it up into a log, coiled it into a disc, and flattened it into a pancake. Hot pan.
Oil. Pancake in.
30 seconds, flip. 30 more seconds, flip again.
Golden.
Crispy. The scallion fragrance was so intense it could probably be smelled from the street. I bit into one before the others were even cooked. Crispy on the outside, soft and flaky inside. And the flavor, the onion taste was 10 times more intense than anything I'd ever used before. It was, without question, the single best scallion pancake I had ever eaten in my entire life. And I've eaten a lot of scallion pancakes. I demolished it in seconds. Then I cooked the other 3. Then I demolished those 2. I sat there, staring at 4 empty plates, genuinely confused. I normally eat 2 pancakes max. I just inhaled for like they were appetizers. Was my stomach bigger? Was I hungrier? Or were these pancakes just so insanely good that my body refused to stop? It was definitely the onions. My cooking skills hadn't magically improved overnight. The only new variable was interdimensional super onions. I looked at the huge pile of chopped green onions still sitting on the counter. And that's when the light bulb went off. I was going to sell scallion pancakes on the street. I still owed over 7 million yuan in various debts and fees. I had no job. 2 days ago, I was running a breakfast cart. I knew how to work a crowd and flip a pancake.
But now?
Now I had a secret weapon. Alien onions from another dimension that made food taste absolutely incredible. All I had to do was set up my cart and start cooking. One whiff of these pancakes and people would be lining up around the block. Lu Qinyu's interdimensional scallion pancakes. Coming soon to a street corner near you. Finding a spot to sell food near a luxury villa neighborhood? Not easy. Rich people don't exactly appreciate street vendors setting up shop next to their Ferraris. After scouting around during rush hour, I found a road that hadn't officially opened yet. A bunch of other vendors were already camped out there. Bun sellers, porridge guys, a hand-grab cake lady. I asked one of them if it was cool to set up, and since I wasn't competing with his skewer business, he gave me the green light. No city inspectors would bother us as long as we stayed off the main road.
Perfect.
10 minutes by tricycle from my haunted mansion. I was in business. That night I made dinner with my interdimensional goji leaves. Just a simple soup with oil and salt, nothing fancy. It was so good, I nearly bit my own tongue off. These otherworldly ingredients were seriously something else. Next morning, 5 a.m. alarm. If you want to sell breakfast, you wake up before breakfast exists. I prepped 6 pounds worth of dough, loaded everything onto my janky secondhand food cart, and pedaled out through the villa gates at 6:30 a.m. The security guard, the same guy who usually opens the gate for Porsches and Bentleys, watched me roll out on my 3-wheeled food cart. I told him I'd bring him a pancake later and called him handsome. He was 50-something. He loved it. I set up at the road, started making my first pancake, which was actually just my own breakfast, and before I could even take a bite, the smell did its thing. This office worker named Chao Yajing was having one of those Monday mornings. Early meeting, bad mood, same boring breakfast options every single day. Then my scallion aroma hit her like a freight train. She followed her nose straight to my cart. How much? 5 yuan, she hesitated. 5 yuan for a pancake with no meat? Everything else around here was cheaper. But the smell was too powerful.
She caved.
She bit in. Her eyes went wide. This is incredible, she yelled, completely abandoning all dignity. She bought 2 more on the spot. One for herself, one for a coworker. Then some young guy wandered over, asked her if it was good. She nodded so hard I thought her head would fall off. He bought 1, then 3 more to go. And that's when the avalanche started. The scallion smell was basically a weapon. People walking to work couldn't not stop. 1 bite, and nobody bought just 1. My spatula was a blur. My arm was dying, but my heart was singing. The other vendors were annoyed at first. I was stealing all their customers. But here's the beautiful thing. My line got so long that people who couldn't wait started buying from them instead. I was accidentally boosting everyone's sales. Nobody complained after that. 6 pounds of dough.
Gone.
Every last pancake sold. My first day back in the street food game, powered by alien onions, and I absolutely crushed it. I sold out before 7:30 a.m. Let that sink in. I'd barely been there an hour, and every single pancake was gone. The last few customers who actually got one were already hooked. You'll be here tomorrow, right? Save me some. Promise me you'll make more. I promised everyone everything. This was the first time in my entire street food career that I'd sold out of anything. Usually I'd be sitting there at noon with leftover buns, questioning my life. Today, empty cart, full heart. On the way home, I remembered I'd promised the security guard a free pancake.
Whoops.
0 pancakes left. Did I feel embarrassed? Absolutely not. Hey, Uncle's security guard.
Sold out.
I'll make you one separately later, he was shocked. His wife ran a food stall too and couldn't sell out in a whole day. I did it in under 2 hours. I casually explained I just hadn't made enough, like some kind of humble genius. He said he wasn't on shift tomorrow anyway, so we agreed on the day after. Crisis of honor. Postponed. Back home, I did the math. 6 pounds of flour made 50 pancakes at 5 yuan each. That's 250 yuan. 250. I stared at that number. Before costs, mind you, flour, oil, salt. Still, not bad for a morning's work. Tomorrow I'd double it. 10 pounds of flour. After a quick bite, I suited up and headed back through the door for round 2. This time I had a plan. Harvest onions sustainably. I'd been pulling them up by the roots like a barbarian, but if I kept that up, I'd wipe out my only supply in days. So instead I started cutting just the leaves, leaving the roots intact. Like onion haircuts. They'd grow back. Not as fast as chives, but fast enough. I also weeded around the onion patch while I was at it. Gotta take care of my little interdimensional farm. Then I smacked myself on the forehead. I'd been agonizing over which plants were useful, but the door literally announces what is energy when I bring stuff through. I didn't need to identify anything. I just needed to grab samples of everything and let the door sort it out. So I went wild. Grabbed a bit of every plant I could see. Snipped leaves, pulled stems, even picked up some random rocks. And on the way back, I spotted these absolutely gorgeous yellow flowers, dug one up, and threw it in my basket too. Back, through the door. Results time. Wild green onions, energy. 1.8. Golden vine flower, energy. 5. Gray bone grass, energy. 2, 3 hits. But then I looked at my basket full of 20-something random plants and realized my mistake. The door only named 3 things. Which of these identical-looking weeds was the gray bone grass? I had no idea. Should have brought them through one at a time. Rookie move, Lu Chenyu. I set aside the useless mystery weeds, kept the onions, and examined my star find, the golden vine flower. The door had taken 5 energy points from it, meaning the flower originally had 10. That was way more than the onions. It was beautiful, too. Clusters of translucent yellow petals with little red spots at the base, and these delicate golden stamens that dangled down like tiny threads of silk.
Could I eat it? No clue.
I wasn't about to gamble my life on an alien flower. I found a pot, planted it, and decided to just keep it alive for now. It was barely noon. I napped until 2 p.m., then got back to work. Morning sales alone wouldn't put a dent in my 7 million yuan debt. I needed a night shift too. I went out and bought 20 pounds of flour, a big jug of peanut oil, and some pork. My entire morning's earnings gone just like that. Being a small business owner is basically just watching money evaporate. I hauled everything back on foot because I couldn't even afford an electric scooter. 20+ pounds of supplies up the road into a luxury villa neighborhood. The security cameras probably thought I was the world's most ambitious burglar. This time I prepped smarter, made all 83 pancakes at home with oil paper between each one, so at the stall, I'd only need to heat them up. By 5:30 p.m., everything was loaded onto the cart. Rush hour starts at 6. The evening crowd was waiting. Time to sell some more magic pancakes. I rolled up to my spot around 6 p.m. Not many vendors yet, just some fruit sellers. But as rush hour kicked in, more carts appeared, including one old lady who parked right next to me. She saw exactly what I was selling.
She set up anyway.
Pulled out a coal stove, a big iron wok full of oil, so dark it looked like it had seen the fall of every dynasty, and a bucket of batter. Then she started making,
Yep.
scallion pancakes. Her method was, shall we say, rustic. Dump onions in batter, grab a glob, stretch it, toss it into the ancient black oil, flip twice, done.
No finesse.
No love, just violence against dough. I said nothing. I just started heating my pan. A couple walked up. The boyfriend looked at both our stalls and, in a moment of peak white knight energy, said, "Let's buy from the old lady. She's so old and still working." I feel bad for her. His girlfriend eyed that nightmare oil and hesitated. But he was already pulling her over. Then my first pancake hit the pan. The smell detonated like a flavor bomb. The girlfriend yanked her boyfriend back mid-payment. Actually, let's try that one. The old lady immediately launched her counterattack. Scallion pancakes. 2 yuan each. She basically screamed it while staring directly at me. My pancakes were 5 yuan. The shade was real. The boyfriend took the bait. 5 yuan? No meat, no nothing, and the lady next door charges 2? That's kinda steep. I didn't get mad. You can't survive in street food if you have thin skin. I just smiled and said, smell mine, then smell hers. Same thing? And mine are stuffed with wild green onions I picked fresh this morning. I flipped the pancake. The aroma intensified. The girlfriend grabbed her boyfriend's arm. I want this one. He gave in. 10 yuan, scanned and paid. The old lady let out a cold humph. When the pancake was ready, the girlfriend took a bite and immediately moaned. Oh my god, this is amazing. She hadn't even swallowed yet. She offered her boyfriend a taste. He took one bite, then chomped off half the entire pancake in one go. Hey, that was my pancake. Sorry, babe, it's just so good. You can have mine when it's ready. I couldn't help laughing. So, still think it's too expensive? Want that refund? No refund. Give me 2 more. Actually, for to go, those 2 demolished 4 pancakes on the spot and took 4 more home. 8 pancakes. 1 couple. The power of interdimensional onions. By then, the entire street smelled like my stall. People on scooters were slowing down, sniffing the air, doing U-turns. Within 5 minutes, I had 8 people in line. 10 minutes later, the line was ridiculous. Since I'd prepped everything at home, all I had to do was cook them, which was way faster than the morning. But I only had 1 pan that fit 1 pancake at a time, so people still had to wait. Nobody left though. Every customer who bid in had the same reaction: wide eyes, involuntary sounds of joy, and an immediate order for more. The testimonials wrote themselves. The old lady next to me was fuming. My line had gotten so long it started spilling into her space. Move it. You're all blocking my stall. How am I supposed to do business? Fair point, honestly. I asked everyone to scoot over, and they did. No drama from my end. 83 pancakes. Sold out in just over an hour. I didn't stop moving the entire time. If I'd had a bigger cooking surface, like an iron griddle that could do 2 or 3 at once, I could have gone even faster. Mental note: upgrade equipment ASAP. By the time I packed up, the old lady hadn't sold a single pancake. Not one. She glared at me like I'd personally insulted her ancestors. I didn't engage. After years of street vending, I've seen it all: passive-aggressive comments, sabotage attempts, people literally flipping over other vendors' tables. One grumpy grandma giving me the evil eye. That's a Tuesday. There's only so much stomach space in the world. If people fill up on my food, they're not eating anyone else's. That's just business. Dinner that night was simple but glorious. Rice, goji leaf, and pork soup, a little plate of braised pork belly. The soup was gone in seconds. Otherworldly vegetables really do hit different. After eating, I scrubbed down the cart and all my equipment, showered, and collapsed into bed before 10 p.m. That's basically unheard of for a street vendor. Usually I'd be out there until midnight, desperately hawking lukewarm buns at nobody. Time to count my money. Morning, 250 yuan. Evening, 83 pancakes times 5 yuan equals 415. Daily total, 665 yuan. If I could keep this up for a month, that's almost 20,000 yuan. I was practically rich. Then I remembered the property fee. 11,200 yuan a month. Just to exist in this villa. More than half my income. Poof. Gone to the privilege of living in a haunted house. I needed to sell more stuff. What else did I have? The goji leaves. Tonight's soup had been incredible. What if I made goji leaf and pork congee to sell alongside the pancakes? Genius. I fell asleep planning my congee empire.
4 Uhr nachts Alarm.
An hour earlier than yesterday, because I needed to prep more dough. Being your own boss sounds glamorous until you realize your boss makes you wake up at 4 a.m. By 6:30, I was rolling out the gate. Today's security guard was the young one, the guy who'd helped me with my bags and then sprinted away screaming when he saw which villa I lived in. He spotted me coming and opened the gate from as far away as physically possible. Apparently living in a haunted house makes you intimidating.
Good to know.
I hadn't even finished setting up when people swarmed me. "You're here. Quick, 5 pancakes." I had one yesterday, and I've been thinking about it ever since. Repeat customers already. More kept showing up, tons of familiar faces from the day before. The problem? Even though I'd made 4 extra pounds of dough, everyone was ordering more per visit.
5 at a time. 6 at a time.
3 for me, 2 for my coworker, 1 for my mom. Sold out in 1 hour. Again. The people at the back of the line who didn't get any looked like I'd personally canceled their birthday. Are you kidding me? I told my coworker about you. I promised her I'd bring one. Do you even want money? I apologized about 40 times and swore I'd make more tomorrow. People eventually shuffled away, muttering. I packed up while the bun guy next door watched in disbelief. "Kid, you've got some skill." Line around the block every morning and still not enough. Meanwhile, he was sitting on 3 steamers of buns, half unsold after an hour. I told him I learned to cook growing up, which was true. At the orphanage, once you were old enough to hold a spatula, you were on kitchen duty. I'd been cooking, cleaning, farming vegetables, 6 years of growing my own produce. Street food wasn't a career choice. It was survival instinct. The other vendors watched me leave at 7:30 a.m. with undisguised envy. They'd be stuck there until 9 or 10. I was already done. Meanwhile, across town, my pancakes were causing office drama. One of my customers, a woman named Jiang Shan, had bought 4 that morning. Ate 2 for breakfast, saved 2 for lunch. Smart woman. When she microwaved her pancakes in the break room at noon, the scallion smell invaded the entire office. A coworker sniffed the air. "What?" I asked that. Another one begged for a taste. Jiang Shan reluctantly broke off a tiny piece. The coworker ate it and literally yelled an expletive. In the quiet break room, at full volume, "Give me more." "No. This is my lunch. I'll trade you my chicken." "I don't want your chicken." I waited in line for these. More coworkers poured in from the office, drawn by the smell like cartoon characters floating toward a pie on a windowsill. "What are you guys secretly eating in here? We can smell it from our desks." Poor Jiang Shan tried to defend her lunch, but was hopelessly outnumbered. Her pancakes got picked apart like a nature documentary. And to add insult to injury, she ended up with a stack of orders from coworkers wanting her to buy pancakes for them tomorrow. She went from customer to unpaid delivery service in 1 lunch break. Back at the villa, I napped, then headed through the door for my daily trip. This time I had a system. Grabbed a huge bundle of goji leaves, dug up the remaining 4 golden vine flowers I'd spotted last time, and then went exploring a new direction. I was smarter about sampling plants now. Instead of grabbing everything like a maniac, I picked things that were easy to tell apart. Purple berries on a vine? Grab a few. Fat, juicy-looking weed? Pull one. That way, when the door announced what had energy, I could actually figure out which plant it was talking about. 30 minutes is painfully short, though. I could barely get anywhere before I had to turn back. The air over there was so clean and sweet it almost felt like a waste to leave. I really hoped the door could level up somehow. Half an hour a day was not enough to explore a whole new world. Back through the door, and the energy report came in. Goji leaves scored 3.75. The 4 golden vine flowers netted me a whopping 20 points, and some purple berries I'd grabbed got 2 points. Not bad for 30 minutes of interdimensional gardening. I planted the new flowers in the villa's garden. Plenty of empty pots, since all of Grey Tandy's plants had died. The one I planted yesterday was already thriving, looking fabulous, like it had lived there for years. Tough little thing. The purple berries went straight into the fridge. No way was I taste testing mystery alien fruit. I enjoy being alive. For lunch, I experimented with goji leaf and pork congee. Sliced some ginger and lean pork, marinated it with a bit of starch, salt, and oil. Boiled rice until it went thick and creamy, stirred in the pork, then tossed in the goji leaves at the very end. First spoonful, creamy rice, savory pork, then this wave of fresh sweetness from the leaves. It was like a warm hug traveling from my throat all the way to my stomach. Absolutely sellable. New menu item. Confirmed. I needed supplies, lots of them. Problem. No vehicle. Solution. Charm. I wandered over to the young security guard's booth and hit him with my sweetest smile. Hey handsome, can I borrow your scooter? Just need to grab some groceries. Look, I'm not ugly. I'm the grows on you type. Round face, smiley eyes, tanned from years of outdoor vending. Not magazine cover material, but I can work what I've got. The guard turned red and handed over his keys without a fight. Living in a haunted house apparently makes you both terrifying and intriguing. I zipped to the market and went big. 100 pounds of flour. 50 pounds of rice. Disposable bowls and spoons. The shop owner agreed to deliver everything, and we exchanged contacts for future orders. Then I grabbed pork, tofu, and headed home. When the shop owner saw my villa, his jaw dropped. I told him I was just the housekeeper. He bought it immediately, because obviously a girl who haggles over flour prices doesn't own a mansion. I prepped 15 pounds worth of pancakes, then headed out for the evening shift. Dropped off a pancake for the young guard as a thank you for the scooter. We bonded over being broke, him a security guard, me a street vendor living in a villa I couldn't afford.
Solidarity.
When I arrived at my spot, the old lady from yesterday had stolen my exact location. I didn't fight it.
Just set up somewhere else.
Didn't matter anyway, because the moment my cart appeared, a man came sprinting over. 10 pancakes. Now, this guy, Suwon, had bought 2 the night before. He'd eaten one himself on the walk home, brought the other back for his 2 kids. 2 kids. 1 pancake.
You can guess how that went.
The children nearly fought to the death over it. His wife intervened by taking it to the kitchen to cut it fairly, and ate half herself. When she brought out what was left, the kids ate their tiny portions and burst into tears because it was so good, and there was so little. Then his wife turned on him. Why'd you only buy 1? Go get more. The vendor was sold out. The children wailed. Dinner was ruined. He had to promise a massive pancake haul the next day just to restore peace in his household. So there he was, first in line, wild-eyed and desperate, ordering 10 pancakes like a man whose marriage depended on it. Which, honestly, it probably did. My congee was a hit. People bought 1 bowl, thought, that's plenty, then immediately regretted not buying 5. Apparently, it wasn't just delicious. Everyone who ate it felt super energized all morning. Work productivity went through the roof. They all decided this was simply the power of good food. Sure, let's go with that. Definitely not interdimensional magic plants.
Nope.
When I got back to the villa, old Lou, the security guard, flagged me down with a big thumbs up. Kid, your cooking is top tier. We properly introduced ourselves. I told him to call me Little Lou. He told me to call him Old Lou. When I offered to bring him food again, he tried to refuse, but his mouth literally couldn't form the words. The memory of that kanji was too powerful. Instead, he said, if you ever need help with anything, just ask. I pounced on that immediately. Actually, Lou uncle, there is one thing. His face went pale. He'd made the offer approximately 3 seconds ago, and I was already cashing it in. But it was simple. Just tell anyone who asks that I'm the villa's housekeeper, not the owner. A girl living alone in a mansion? That's asking for trouble. He agreed, relieved it wasn't something bigger. Right then, a fancy black car honked behind me. I scooted my tricycle out of the way while old Lou opened the gate. Inside the car, an older woman was complaining to her daughter. You said this was a luxury neighborhood. Why is there a tricycle here? The daughter, Fei Ting, early 30s, recently divorced, self-made businesswoman, was already exhausted. Her mom had arrived at dawn, insisting on moving in to take care of her after the divorce. Mom was the type who wore head-to-toe designer everything because how else will people know I'm rich? They'd bought Villa 14.
Right.
Next.
Door.
The old lady watched me park my tricycle in my villa's yard and said, loud enough for me to hear, rich people have such strange hobbies. Doesn't like cars, prefers a tricycle. I couldn't care less about my new neighbors. I had work to do. I went online and ordered supplies. A big flat iron griddle so I could cook multiple pancakes at once, food-safe paper bags, disposable bowls and utensils, and even a custom banner for my cart. The business was getting an upgrade. Then I raided Grey Tanny's tool shed and hit the jackpot. A gas-powered weed whacker. Still working. Plus hose, shovels, picks, pruning shears, buckets, spray cans. The woman had been a serious gardener. I filled the weed whacker with gas from a half-full canister I found in the corner. Time for my daily trip through the door. I brought the weed whacker with me this time and went to town on that alien jungle. Carved a proper path from the cave to my onion patch, then from the onions to the goji leaves, then looped it all back together. A whole little trail system. Lucinu's interdimensional highway. While clearing brush, I sliced through some flat vine that started bleeding. Red liquid everywhere. I nearly had a heart attack thinking I'd hit a snake. But nope, just plant juice. Weird, freaky, definitely not from Earth plant juice. I grabbed a piece to bring home. Harvested my usual haul, onions, goji leaves, purple berries, and rushed back through the door. The energy report was my best one yet. Goji leaves, 3.5. Onions, 2. Purple berries, 5. And the bleeding vine? Wild chicken blood vine, 12 energy points. 12. That ugly, terrifying, fake bleeding vine was my most valuable find so far. Sometimes the scariest things are worth the most. Story of my life, really. That chicken blood vine, 12 energy points, was stuck in my brain. I remembered seeing tons of it while clearing the path yesterday. If I collected all of it, the door would get a massive energy boost. I looked it up online. Chicken blood vine is actually a traditional Chinese medicine herb.
Cool.
Maybe I could sell it. Then I saw the price. A few dozen yuan per kilogram. Not exactly retirement money. But hey, when you're as broke as me, you don't turn your nose up at anything. I'd grab it tomorrow regardless. The door needed feeding, and any extra cash was welcome. Speaking of cash, I decided to treat myself to lunch. A real lunch. I went to KFC and ordered a whole family bucket. Just me. One person. Family-sized. I'd been living off my own cooking for days, and usually I could only afford a few chicken wings or popcorn chicken. Today, the whole bucket. I even got bubble tea afterward, sipping it on the way to the market like some kind of queen. That evening, sold out again. Every pancake, every bowl of congee gone. By day 3, the other vendors were getting jealous. They kept hovering around my stall, sniffing the air, trying to figure out my secret. But I was too busy cooking to chat, and the moment I finished, I packed up and left. Finally, one of them cornered me while I was cleaning up, a woman named Zhao Hongting who sold skewers. She came in hot with fake friendliness, eyes darting all over my setup like she was trying to reverse engineer my operation. Your pancakes are so popular. They don't look that special though, just a little more fragrant. What's your secret? I kept wiping my stove. Guess people just like the flavor. She leaned in, voice dropping to a whisper. Come on, girl to girl, who taught you? You've got a secret recipe, right? Tell me what it is, and I'll give you free skewers forever. There it was. The real agenda. I straightened up and gave her my sweetest smile. Auntie, your skewers smell pretty great too. Must have your own secret recipe, right? How about you teach me yours first? Her face froze like a computer crashing. Oh, mine? Nothing special, I just boil stuff. And I just fry stuff. Well, good night, Auntie. I hopped on my tricycle and pedaled away. I heard her mutter something about chemical fragrances behind me.
Classic.
That night I did the math. 3 days of sales. Day 1, 665 yuan. Day 2, 1,105 yuan. Day 3, 1,790 yuan. Total revenue, 3,560 yuan. Minus 632 in costs. Profit, 2,928 yuan in 3 days. Not bad for a girl whose net worth was recently measured in loose change. By day 4, I had fans. People were waiting before I even arrived. One guy literally started unloading my cart for me, so I'd cook faster. The line got so long that customers started serving themselves, scooping their own congee, scanning the payment code, grabbing a bowl, and walking away. I was just standing there flipping pancakes while my congee pot emptied itself. Boss, just pre-package the congee at home. We'll grab it ourselves. You focus on the pancakes. They were basically running my business for me. It was beautiful and slightly terrifying. But I was hitting my limit. I was waking up at 4 a.m., doing morning and evening shifts, and spending every other waking moment prepping food. The real bottleneck was ingredients. I was running low on goji leaves, and with only 30 minutes a day in the other world, I couldn't gather enough. I needed the door to level up. More time meant more ingredients, meant more money, meant less debt. The whole plan hinged on feeding that hungry portal. So I grabbed 2 burlap sacks and headed through the door to collect chicken blood vine. And of course, it was raining over there. Because the universe never makes things easy for me. The heavy rain had already passed, but it was still drizzling. I couldn't wait for it to stop. 30 minutes is 30 minutes. So I took one of my burlap sacks, poked a corner inward to make a triangle shape, and jammed it on my head like a hat. The rest draped over my back like a cape. Picture it, a girl wearing a grain sack on her head, trudging through an alien jungle in the rain, hunting for bleeding vines with a fruit knife. If anyone from my world could see me right now, they'd either call an ambulance or nominate me for an adventure show. Chicken blood vine is actually pretty easy to spot once you know what to look for: flat, twisted, branch-like, and it bleeds when you cut it. Find one piece, and there's usually more nearby. I'd brought a proper kitchen cleaver this time, and I went full lumberjack on those vines.
Hack, hack, hack.
Red juice everywhere. In the rain, with the water washing the sap around, the whole area looked like a crime scene. Just me, standing in the middle of a blood-red puddle, holding a knife, wearing a grain sack on my head. If anyone saw me, they'd have called the police. It was exhausting work. Those vines were tough. I watched the clock like a hawk and stopped with barely any time left. Stuffed everything into my burlap sack, which ended up so heavy I could barely drag it back to the cave. I made it through the door, with literally 1 second to spare. But was it worth it? 167 energy points. From 1 sack of bleeding vines. And then, the door lit up. Actual light. It glowed for a moment, and then, energy threshold exceeded 100. Upgraded to initial spacetime door. Daily travel time 1 hour. Trips per day 1. Next upgrade, 1,000 energy points. IT leveled up. 1 hour per trip now instead of 30 minutes. Just like that. Total energy collected across 5 trips. 225.25 points. That 1 sack of vine basically carried me over the finish line. I was grinning so hard my face hurt. After a shower, because I was soaked and covered in red plant blood, I went out to the yard to wash and dry the vines. That's when I noticed someone watching me from next door. The old lady from Villa 14. My new neighbor's mom. She came right over to the fence with a big smile. Is that chicken blood vine? Looks wild. I told her a relative had sent it. Turns out Grandma Zhu grew up in the mountains and used to collect this stuff as a kid. She was basically a chicken blood vine expert. Within minutes, we were sitting on little stools in my yard while she gave me a full masterclass. Good vine has a reddish-brown cross-section with visible rings. Feel it: the harder and rougher, the older and better. Dry a piece and burn it. Real vine smells like smoky wood. Fake stuff smells chemical. She examined my haul and got visibly excited. This is genuine wild vine. Good age on it too, so. Is it valuable? Maybe 70 or 80 yuan per kilogram.
Dried. Per kilogram.
Not exactly luxury goods. But money is money. Then she asked if she could buy a piece to make soup for her daughter, who'd been having health problems since her divorce. I waved her off. Just take one, auntie. It's from the mountains. Didn't cost me anything. Neighborly generosity. Also, strategic investment. Everyone in this villa complex was rich. Be nice now. Sell them expensive magic plants later. Long game. I also gave her some wild onions and goji leaves. She protested. I insisted. She accepted and practically floated home, touched by my generosity. She had no idea she'd just been enrolled in my future customer database. That evening, Grandma Zhu called her daughter Fei Ting at work. Come home for dinner. The neighbor gave me wild onions and goji leaves. Fei Ting sighed. Mom, did you go bother the neighbors again? I was helping. She thanked me. Just come home. These onions smell amazing. Fei Ting left work early, partly because her mom was alone, partly because she couldn't resist curiosity. She opened her front door and was immediately hit by a wall of fragrance, so intense she forgot she was tired. Those interdimensional onions strike again. Next door at Villa 14, Fei Ting came home to the most incredible smell. Her mom had made 3 dishes: scallion scrambled eggs, goji leaf soup, and braised ribs. Fei Ting hadn't eaten at home in ages. She tried the goji soup first. The broth was creamy white, the leaves bright green, little bits of pork and preserved egg floating around. One bite, and her eyes went wide. Sweet, fresh, crispy leaves with this perfect aftertaste. She inhaled the entire bowl, broth and all. Then the scrambled eggs. Golden, fluffy, with specks of green onion throughout. The scallion flavor completely erased any egginess and made the whole thing addictive. Then Grandma Zhu tried her own cooking and freaked out. What the? How is this so good? Did I make this? She tasted the ribs for comparison. Normal. Her usual level. Then back to the eggs. Mind-blowing. The goji soup. Incredible. It's not my cooking, she declared. It's the ingredients. That wild stuff from next door is something else. Mother and daughter cleaned out the eggs and soup completely. The ribs, actual meat, sat there basically untouched. Wild vegetables from another dimension had just defeated pork ribs. Let that sink in. Meanwhile, my evening stalls sold out as usual, and now customers were literally trying to pre-order. Boss, save me extra tomorrow. My kid wants to try some. I'll pay more. 5 portions. Don't start a bidding war, man. I had an idea. I pulled out my phone and created a group chat on the spot. Scan this code. Join the group. I'm getting help, and next week I'll start taking advance orders. 20-something people joined in about 30 seconds. My phone was buzzing like a beehive. But I couldn't do this alone. I needed hands. And I knew exactly where to find them. That night, I called the orphanage where I grew up.
Directo?
It's Chinyu. I need a few helpers for a couple days. I'll pay 150 yuan per person per day. Next morning, my old caretaker Jinjin showed up at the villa gates with 3 teenagers from the orphanage, Zhongzheng, Zhongran, and Lu Tongtong. They were all 16 or 17, the kids nobody ever adopted. Zhongzheng had weak eyesight, Zhongran had legs of different lengths, and Tongtong had albinism. In the orphanage system, kids with health conditions don't get picked. Every kid without a known surname got the director's last name. That's just how it works there. I know because I grew up in the same place. They stood outside the villa complex gates, staring at the fancy entrance like it might bite them. Jean Annie, are you sure this is the right address? I came rolling up on my 3-wheeled food cart, waving like a maniac. Jin Auntie. Over here. My reinforcements had arrived. The scallion pancake empire was about to expand. Lujia, the kids greeted me like good little soldiers. I used to babysit these 3 back at the orphanage. Now they were my employees. Life is weird. I led everyone through the villa gates and unlocked the front door. The crystal chandelier flickered on, illuminating dusty marble floors. Listen, I've been busy selling pancakes, not mopping a 4-story mansion. The kids' jaws hit the floor. WHOA. They were afraid to step inside. I had to practically drag them in. Relax, it's just me here. Nobody's going to yell at you. Jean Annie, my old caretaker from the orphanage, was more practical. She wanted to know what work I actually needed done. See, orphanage kids have to leave when they turn 18, and most of them have health issues that make finding jobs tough. Zhongzheng, Zhongran, and Tongtong were almost adults with no great career prospects. Jean Auntie was always looking for opportunities for them. So what's the job, Chinyu? I held up my phone. Private kitchen delivery service. That morning I'd announced online ordering in my group chat. The group had exploded from 20-something people to over 100. My phone was having a seizure. People were sharing war stories about my food. My coworker hasn't spoken to me in 2 days because I keep promising to bring her a pancake and never do. At least yours just ignores you. Mine physically steals from my hands. I gave mine to a girl I like. She was skeptical at first. Now she wants to come home with me to eat them fresh. Scallion pancakes. The ultimate dating strategy. My picky eater son now wakes up earlier than me to go buy kanji. Jean Auntie scrolled through these messages, stunned. Was this really the same kid who used to burn rice at the orphanage? I explained the plan. The food isn't hard to make. The secret is the ingredients. Jean Auntie and the kids would cook at the villa. I'd hire delivery drivers. We'd take orders online. Will this actually work? She asked. Only one way to find out. I posted in the group. Menu: goji leaf pork congee, 6 yuan. Scallion pancake, 6 yuan. Scallion pork noodles, 13 yuan. Orders open 10 a.m. to noon. For p.m. to 6 p.m. First come, first served. 1 yuan more per item than the stall price because of delivery. Nobody cared. Not even a little. The orders came flooding in like a dam broke. 10 pancakes, 5 congees. I want 10 pancakes too. How do you people eat that much? It's the weekend. Family dinner. Jean Auntie watched the notifications pile up, eyes the size of dinner plates.
Chinyu.
This many people, she was convinced. She marched into the kitchen and started cooking with the kids immediately. These were the same skills we'd all learned growing up at the orphanage. Nothing fancy, just solid home cooking. The interdimensional ingredients did the rest. I jumped on my old college job hunting group chat and posted. Need 2 delivery drivers. 200 yuan per day plus 50 for vehicle costs. Must have own scooter. Hours: 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. and 4 to 7 p.m. 250 yuan a day for part-time work? People responded instantly. I picked 2 guys who already had delivery experience. Their scooters were even pre-modified with food carriers. Professionals. I checked with old Lou at the gate about whether delivery drivers could enter the complex. Of course. These villas are so far apart, if we didn't let delivery in, the residents would riot. Perfect. I borrowed his scooter again. The man was basically my unpaid Uber at this point, zipped to the market for pork and cucumbers, and made it home by 10 a.m. The delivery guys showed up right on time. Everyone assembled in the kitchen. My entire staff, 1 orphanage caretaker, 3 teenagers with 0 business experience, 2 delivery drivers I'd met 15 minutes ago, and me, a broke girl in a haunted mansion running a food empire powered by plants from another dimension. Time for a team meeting. The team meeting lasted about 2 minutes. Jean Auntie and 2 of the kids would cook. Tong Tong handles packaging. The 2 delivery guys, Zhou Ziwang and He Wenfeng, deliver. That was it. That was the whole business plan. The delivery guys exchanged a look that clearly said, "This is the most unprofessional company I've ever worked for." But hey, 250 yuan a day is 250 yuan a day. While we waited for orders to start, the delivery boys helped Tong Tong with packaging. She was nervous at first. She has albinism and grew up avoiding people because of how they stared. But these guys didn't even blink. After a few minutes, she relaxed. Small victories. I sat down with a notebook and started copying orders from my phone. Address, items, contact info, 1 slip per order, tucked into each bag. Very high-tech. Very professional. Totally not just a girl with a pen and a notebook in a haunted mansion. Then Jean Auntie started making the scallion oil noodles, her specialty, and the reason I'd added them to the menu. The noodle process was legit. She marinated the pork, minced with cooking wine, soy sauce, starch, and oil. Fried it on low heat until golden, added ginger and garlic, hit it with dark soy for color, then a splash of water to keep it tender. Then came the scallion oil. The moment those wild onions hit the hot oil, the smell didn't just fill the kitchen, it escaped. It crossed property lines. It invaded Villa 14. Grandma Zhu came speed-walking over and rang my doorbell. "What on earth are you cooking?" I smelled it from my living room. She walked in, saw my whole crew, got embarrassed. "Oh, you have company." But the second I said, "Want to taste test my new dish," her feet reversed direction instantly. Jean Auntie made everyone a bowl. The whole team gathered around the fancy dining table, orphanage kids, delivery guys, an old lady from next door, and me, eating noodles in a mansion. Nobody spoke for the first 30 seconds. Just slurping. Aggressive, euphoric slurping. Grandma Zhu burned her mouth, refused to spit anything out, swallowed it anyway, and through the pain declared, "This scallion oil is better than the state-run restaurant chefs used to make back in the day." The delivery guys had their faces buried in their bowls. The kids couldn't look up. Jean Auntie was eating gracefully, except her chopsticks were moving at light speed, and when a noodle fell on the tablecloth, she picked it up with her fingers and ate it without hesitation. I leaned on my hand, grinning. So, how are the noodles? Unanimous verdict. Flawless. Would absolutely sell. Then Jean Auntie looked at her own hands in disbelief. Chinyu, did I really make this? Since when am I this good? Jean Auntie, everyone watched you cook it. It's all you. Jean Auntie, you're amazing. With your skills, Lu Jie's business is definitely going to take off. She beamed. Then immediately snapped back into work mode and started bossing everyone around. That's the Jean Auntie I know. By 11 a.m., deliveries were rolling out. All our customers were office workers in nearby neighborhoods, so routes were short and efficient. Grandma Zhu finally noticed the mountain of packed meal boxes and put two and two together.
Wait.
You're running a food business out of this villa? Oh yeah, forgot to mention. I sell food from a street cart. And the tricycle? That's my mobile restaurant. She stared at me. Girl living in a mansion, running a street food operation, cooking in a luxury kitchen to pack orders into takeout containers. I could see her brain recalculating everything she thought she knew about me. But Grandma Zhu grew up poor too.
No judgment.
Instead, she pointed at the food and asked, "Can I buy some?" She walked away with 2 bowls of noodles, 1 congee, and 2 pancakes. Then she called her daughter. "I'm bringing you lunch," Fei Ting sighed. "Mom, we have a cafeteria. Is your cafeteria serving food from another dimension?" "I think not." She didn't say that exactly, but the energy was there. "Mom, did you take more free stuff from the neighbor? I paid for it this time." Fair and square. Now do you want it or not? Fei Ting remembered last night's dinner. The eggs. The soup. That indescribable flavor. Send your location. I'll have my assistant pick you up. I'm old. Not helpless. I'll get there myself. Just have someone meet me downstairs. The Scallion Empire was expanding. We now had walk-in customers, delivery service, and corporate catering. All from a haunted mansion.
Powered by alien vegetables.
Run by orphans. This was either the greatest business model in history or the plot of the world's weirdest movie. Either way, I was making money. Over at the Huanyu Building cafeteria, Fei Ting was causing a scene without trying. Every head in the room kept swiveling toward her table, where the scallion aroma from my food was basically bullying everyone else's lunch into irrelevance. She bit into a scallion pancake, crunch, and the entire cafeteria collectively swallowed. A finance director slithered over trying to find out what she was eating. Fei Ting shut him down cold. She shared a pancake with her assistants, though, and they lost their minds. This has to be from some fancy restaurant. Must cost a fortune. Then Fei Ting asked her mom how much the whole spread cost. 27 yuan. 27. For 2 bowls of noodles, a congee, and 2 pancakes. The woman who'd once taken her mom to a restaurant charging 288 yuan for a single bowl of congee was now questioning reality. Meanwhile, back at headquarters, my haunted mansion, I was watching payments roll in on my phone like a slot machine hitting jackpot after jackpot. Nobody ordered small. Most people spent 50 yuan per order. Over 100 orders meant 5,000 yuan before lunch. At least enough to cover everyone's wages for the day. Orders slowed after noon. I told Jean Annie and the kids to rest until 3 p.m., then start prepping for the evening round. Time for my daily dimension hop. I grabbed a raincoat just in case. It had been raining yesterday over there. But when I stepped through, the rain had stopped. Lucky me. With my upgraded 1-hour window, I could explore further today. Passing through my onion patch, I noticed the stalks I'd cut days ago had already grown back to palm height. This alien soil was no joke. I kept walking and found a small stream. Water flows downhill. Rivers attract settlements. Maybe I could finally find signs of civilization. I followed the water and forgot all about civilization because I found mushrooms. A whole field of them. White caps, long stems, poking up from the wet earth in dense clusters as far as I could see. And not just any mushrooms. These looked like chicken for mushrooms. Jizong. The king of mushrooms. The stuff that sells for hundreds of yuan per kilogram back home. The holy grail for every mushroom hunting video I'd ever drooled over on my phone. I'm a professional armchair mushroom hunter. I've watched approximately 10,000 videos of people foraging in the mountains. I've never actually found a wild mushroom in my life because I live in a city. The fanciest mushroom I'd ever eaten was a supermarket button mushroom. And now there was a field of premium chicken fur mushrooms in front of me, still in their unopened cap stage, which is when they're most valuable. I forgot about rivers. I forgot about civilization. I forgot about everything except filling every container I had. My basket filled up in minutes. Then I started stuffing mushrooms into my burlap sack. Any serious mushroom forager would have screamed at me for cramming delicate, unopened mushrooms into a grain bag, but there was nobody here to judge me, and I was not leaving these behind. By the time I headed back, I was staggering under a full sack on my back and a basket in each hand. With 8 minutes left on the clock, I dumped everything in the cave, sprinted to the onion patch, panic harvested a huge bundle of green onions, sustainability be damned, I was almost out at home, and dove through the door. I collapsed on the garage floor like a dead fish. Wild green onions, energy, 4.6. White cap chicken fur mushroom, energy, 223.7. 223.7. I wanted to jump up and scream. My body said no. I just lay there on the concrete, grinning at the ceiling like a lunatic. They were real. They were premium. And 223 energy points meant the door was getting fed tonight. I eventually peeled myself off the floor and carefully emptied the sack. A few mushrooms got squished, but most survived. Beautiful, pristine, interdimensional chicken fur mushrooms worth a small fortune. This was, by far, the best day of my entire cross-dimensional career. I wanted to run upstairs and get Jean Annie to help with the mushrooms, but one looked down at myself and, no. I was covered head to toe in mud. My sneakers were basically mud sculptures. Every step left a swamp footprint on the floor. I kicked off the shoes, tiptoed to the basement bathroom, scrubbed off the evidence, took the elevator to the 3rd floor to change, and then came back down looking like a normal human being. In the living room, my entire staff was napping. 3 kids sprawled across the fancy sofa, 2 delivery guys on the floor playing mobile games on a designer wool rug. That's when I realized, oops, I never gave anyone a proper room. I grabbed Jean Annie and showed her 2 ground floor guest rooms, each with its own bathroom, both looking like 5-star hotel suites. Chinyu, this is too much. Jean Annie, there are like 5 more rooms upstairs. Take your pick. She assigned boys to one room, girls to the other. Zhong refused his room because he wanted to watch the delivery guy's game. Classic teenage priorities. Then I lured Jean Annie to the basement. My friend dropped off some stuff. Help me bring it up. She followed me down, saw the mushrooms, and her eyes nearly popped out of her skull. Is that chicken fur mushroom? Where did these come from? I mumbled something about a friend. She didn't buy it for a second, but also didn't care. She was already in emergency mushroom preservation mode, sprinting upstairs to mobilize the troops. She came back with everyone and a mountain of takeout containers. Under her command, we carefully packed the intact mushrooms into boxes like they were made of glass. 37 perfect boxes. Handle them gently, I announced, and tonight I'll make chicken fur mushroom soup with a whole chicken. Consider it our company launch dinner. Everyone's hands moved twice as fast. The damaged ones went to Jean Annie for tonight's feast. The perfect 37 boxes? Those were for sale at 800 yuan per box. Now, I just needed rich buyers. And I happened to live in a neighborhood full of them. I messaged the property management lady. Hey, why haven't you added me to the residents group chat? She added me within minutes. 120-something members. The wealthiest people in the city, all in one chat. I expected sophisticated discussions about investments and wine. Instead, the second I appeared, Villa 13? Is your house still haunted? Then everyone started chiming in with ghost stories about my villa. A full-blown paranormal discussion thread. I shut it down with the most ridiculous lie I could think of. I bought an expensive ghost-repelling artifact and performed an exorcism. No more ghosts. We're good. Dead silence. Before anyone could process that, I dropped my real bomb. Photo, fresh wild chicken fur mushrooms, picked this morning. 800 yuan per box. Limited supply. Order now. More silence. Then, Did someone get added to the wrong group? Fair question. This was an exclusive billionaire neighborhood chat, and here I was running a farmer's market in it. The property manager started panic texting me privately. "No ads in the group. Delete now. I'll kick you out." I played my trump card. "You still want those years of unpaid property fees, right?" Silence from her too. She probably went to ask her boss. Never heard back. Permission. Granted by default. Back in the group, after several skeptical messages, someone finally bit. "Is this really fresh chicken fur? Send a box to Villa 37. If it's real, I'll buy it." Done. 10 minutes. I grabbed some boxes and practically ran over there. Villa 37 had two old men playing chess. One of them, Oldly, had been secretly checking a chess app on his phone for his next move when my group message popped up. His chess buddy caught him looking at his phone. "Hey, are you looking up moves?" "That's cheating," Oldly sputtered. "I'm not cheating. I'm buying mushrooms. Best cover story ever." "Thank you, interdimensional fungi." Oldly picked up a mushroom from my box, turned it over, and his eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. The cap was tight and closed, still had fresh dirt on the roots, the flesh inside pure white when he broke one open. "Remarkable. This is incredibly fresh," his chess buddy. Old Yen had been talking trash the whole time. "It's obviously fake, you gullible old fool." But one glance at the mushrooms and his face did a complete 180. "Okay, fine, it's real. Our city doesn't even grow chicken for mushrooms. They'd normally need to be flown in from another province, and even express delivery takes half a day. Mine looked like they'd been picked 5 minutes ago, which technically they had been. Just from a different dimension. Minor detail. Oldly bought all 4 boxes on the spot. 3,200 yuan, just like that. Then I asked him a tiny favor. Could he vouch for me in the group chat? Everyone was calling me a scammer. He typed 4 words. "Mushrooms are real." Then a photo. Then, "already bought." The man was clearly not big on words. But those few characters were worth their weight in gold. Orders started trickling in. Then a restaurant owner in the neighborhood spotted my photos, recognized them as top-grade specimens, and bought everything I had left. 37 boxes. 800 yuan each. Sold out in under an hour. 29,600 yuan profit. From mushrooms. In one afternoon. I'd been slaving over pancakes for days to make 2,000, and these fungi just casually generated 30 grand. The afternoon delivery orders were lighter. People had bought big in the morning and were still eating. Jean Auntie worried. I told her whatever didn't sell through delivery, I'd take to the evening stall. No waste in this operation. I sent one of the delivery guys to buy 2 whole chickens, then took over the kitchen myself. Tonight we were having chicken for mushroom soup, the company launched dinner I'd promised. I used the damaged mushrooms that weren't pretty enough to sell. You clean them carefully, no soaking, just trim the roots, rinse under running water, brush off the dirt gently. The recipe is simple. Chop the chicken, soak out the blood, fry with ginger and scallions until golden, add hot water, simmer for 40 minutes. Then add the mushrooms, a pinch of salt, and 15 more minutes. During those final 15 minutes, nobody could concentrate on work. The aroma was devastating. Not sharp like the onions. This was deep, wild, savory, the kind of smell that crawls into your brain and refuses to leave. We rushed through the last deliveries. By 5:30, I didn't care about the evening stall. I didn't care about orders. I didn't care about my 7 million yuan debt. Dinner time. Soup's on. Everyone was already sitting with rice bowls ready. Jean Auntie and I hauled the massive pot to the table and lifted the lid. The smell hit the room like a tidal wave. Zhou Ziwang, one of the delivery guys, literally gulped. "This smell. It should be illegal." The other delivery guy nodded solemnly. "I'd work here for free if this is what dinner looks like." I poured myself a bowl. The broth was golden and clear, with shredded mushrooms floating on top. I blew on it, took a tiny sip, and my whole body went warm. Rich chicken flavor first. Then this wave of mushroom sweetness that kept echoing on your tongue long after you swallowed. I picked up a mushroom cap, plump, glistening, soaked through with broth, bit down, and it burst with juice. Fresh, tender, crispy, sweet, all at once. I closed my eyes and just existed in that moment. Around me, nothing but the sound of 8 people aggressively slurping soup in a luxury dining room they had no business being in. Tong tong, mouth full. Lujia. This is the best thing I've ever eaten in my life. Jean went back for a second bowl. Then a third. 2 whole chickens. A mountain of mushrooms. 8 hungry people. Not a drop of soup survived. We were mid-feast, faces in bowls, dignity abandoned, when the doorbell rang. Grandma Zhu. Of course. The woman had a sixth sense for delicious food. She'd come to buy congee for dinner, but the second she walked in, the mushroom soup aroma hit her like a truck. She tried so hard not to look at our table. Paid for her congee. Turned to leave. Then couldn't help herself. What? What are you all eating? It smells amazing. Zhong Ran blurted out. Chicken for mushroom soup. It's incredible. I offered her a seat. She waved me off. Oh no, I couldn't possibly join, but her eyes were glued to that pot. I don't need to sit down. Can I just buy some? Annie, we've all been eating from this pot. I can't really sell you. I don't mind. Not one bit. I packed her 2 containers, stuffed with mushrooms. She transferred 500 yuan. Auntie, that's way too much. Take it. I'll probably be back tomorrow. And the day after. My daughter makes good money, don't worry about it. Then she texted Fei Ting. I got more food from next door. Come home. Fei Ting left work on time for the first time in recorded history. After everyone ate their fill, there was still soup left. Nobody could take another bite. We were all about to explode. I had Jean Annie pack it up and take it back to the orphanage for the other kids. Good food should never go to waste. By the time everyone left, it was past 7 p.m., an hour later than my usual stall time. I loaded up and rushed over, worried nobody would still be waiting. They were all still waiting. We thought you died. We almost left. I apologized, explained everything was pre-packaged today, and sold out in 15 minutes flat. Pulled more people into my group chat. Rode home in a cloud of satisfaction while the other vendors shot daggers at my back. Later that night, lying in bed scrolling my phone, I discovered the neighborhood group chat had gone absolutely nuclear. It started around 6 p.m. Someone smelled soup. Who's making soup? It smells divine. I smell it too. What? I asked that. I need my chef to make it. Eventually someone admitted. I bought those mushrooms from the group earlier and had my housekeeper cook them.
The flavor is
unreal. But everyone else who bought mushrooms went silent. Radio dark. 0 responses.
Why?
2 reasons. 1, they were too busy eating to check their phones. 2, they didn't want anyone else to know about my mushrooms. More competition means less mushrooms for them. The restaurant owner who'd bought my entire remaining stock, he'd put chicken for soup on his menu that night, and it exploded. Every single customer who tasted it tried to pre-book their next bowl. Some offered to pay in advance. That guy was not about to share his supplier with the neighborhood. Meanwhile, at Villa 37, Old Li was having a family dinner. His grandson Li Zhonghuai, the heir apparent to the family business, had brought a fancy gift, a box of air-freighted fresh black truffles. Wild. Premium. The kind of thing that costs a fortune and makes you look cultured. But Old Li had already asked his housekeeper to cook the chicken for mushrooms he'd bought from me. Funny timing, Old Li said. We're already having wild mushroom soup tonight. The grandson had to settle for making his black truffles into sashimi instead. Then the soup came out. The aroma drifted up to Old Li's study on the 2nd floor, where he was practicing calligraphy. He tried to keep writing.
Couldn't.
He casually strolled to the kitchen. Wangma, is dinner ready? Zhonghuai said he's hungry. Zhonghuai had said no such thing. Old Li was the hungry one. But powerful men don't admit to being lured by soup smells. Everyone sat down. The lid came off. The whole family fell silent and just
ate.
This is the freshest, most delicious chicken fur I've had in years, Old Li declared. His son immediately agreed, because that's what sons do when dad controls the inheritance. They ate every last drop. The black truffles? The premium, air-freighted, wildly expensive black truffles? Nobody touched them. My interdimensional mushrooms had just defeated one of the most expensive ingredients on Earth. And they didn't even know where the mushrooms actually came from.
What?
A day. Private kitchen delivery. Working. Mushroom gold mine. Discovered. Rich people fighting over my products. Happening right now. My phone was blowing up with messages from wealthy villa residents wanting mushrooms. I added every single one of them on WeChat and created a VIP group called Boss Group 1. These people were my future ATM machines, valued customers. The restaurant owner, Boss Ju, went all in. However many you've got, I'll take them all. I didn't promise anything. The mushroom patch still had plenty yesterday, but mushrooms change overnight. Today's premium closed-cap beauties could be tomorrow's fully open bargain bin. No guarantees in the interdimensional fungi business. That night, I counted my earnings. 38,000 yuan in one day. I slept like a baby on a cloud made of money. Next morning, after the breakfast rush, I borrowed a handcart from old Lou the security guard and hauled it through the door. Yesterday nearly killed my back carrying everything by hand. I'm a businesswoman now, I need logistics. The cart could only go as far as my cleared path. After that I was on foot with burlap sacks, which was still caveman-level transportation. Mental note: buy an electric scooter.
Today.
At the mushroom field, exactly what I feared. Yesterday's leftover mushrooms had fully opened their caps overnight. Open-cap mushrooms are worth way less, but beautiful new closed-cap ones had sprouted everywhere. This alien soil was a mushroom-producing machine. I filled one entire sack with premium closed caps, dragged it to the cart, ran back, filled another sack with open caps, dragged that back too, made it through the door with 0 seconds to spare, as is tradition. White-capped chicken for mushroom, energy, 408.9, 408 points. The door was getting fed. Jean Auntie and the crew came down and nearly fainted at the volume. Where is all this coming from? A friend. Sells them through me. My standard cover story. Nobody believed it. Nobody asked further questions. We had mushrooms to pack. Final count: 68 boxes of closed cap, 800 yuan each, 77 boxes of open cap, 588 yuan each. I sold Boss Ju 50 closed and 60 open, but not everything. I needed stock for my other customers too. Can't let one buyer monopolize the supply. Then I dropped the announcement in both my groups. Today's wild chicken for mushrooms. Closed cap 800/box, open cap 588/box. Limited supply. The VIP group had maybe 15 people.
Didn't matter.
These folks could buy Ferraris on impulse. The closed cap boxes vanished in seconds. Oldly, the chess grandpa from yesterday, was too slow. Only open caps left. He was not happy. His solution? He pulled his grandson into the group chat. His grandson Li Zhonghuai, CEO of the Li Corporation, the city's most eligible bachelor, financial district golden boy. Grandson, your job is to help me buy mushrooms. Get the best ones. Be fast. This man ran a billion-dollar company. And Grandpa was assigning him to a grocery group chat as his personal mushroom sniper. Grandpa, are you serious? You want me to ask your cousin instead? I'll do it. Old Li's chess rival, Old Yen, called to gloat about beating him to the good mushrooms. Old Li demanded he return yesterday's 2 boxes as payback. Rich people problems. The delivery guy zipped around the villa complex on his scooter, dropping off boxes. Done in 30 minutes. But 3 closed-cap boxes remained unsold. Then Grandma Zhu appeared. Like clockwork. She saw the mushrooms. Remembered last night's soup. Started drooling. I'll take all 3. And just like that, every single box was gone. Total mushroom revenue: 99,676 yuan. Nearly 100,000. In half a day. I stared at my phone. The numbers were right there. Real money. In my account. A month ago, I was selling breakfast buns for pocket change and stressing over a 40,000 yuan student loan. Now I just made almost 100K before lunch. I ran down to the basement and hugged the door. Literally pressed my face against the swirling void. I love you, space-time door. Ancestors, thank you for this gift. I will cherish you forever. The door said nothing. It was asleep, but I like to think it appreciated the gesture. With actual money in my account, I immediately went shopping. Bought an electric scooter. Finally, no more borrowing. Got a new phone because my old one was dying from notification overload. Picked up my online orders too. The iron griddle for my cart that could cook 4 pancakes at once, plus my custom banner. Then Jean Auntie delivered the bad news. We were out of goji leaves. I'd been so focused on mushrooms the past 2 days that I'd neglected my other crops. No goji leaves meant no kanji. My bestseller, temporarily discontinued. This was a problem. Everything depended on me personally going through the door for 30-minute, now 1-hour, trips. The goji plants over there weren't infinite. At this rate, I'd strip them bare. I needed a better solution. What if I could grow these plants on this side? Plant them in the villa garden, water them, harvest whenever I wanted. If interdimensional vegetables could grow in Earth's soil, I'd never run out again. Farming. That's the answer. If I can't find enough plants over there, I'll grow them. That world has endless empty land. If I find a river, I could set up whole plots along the bank. Imagine my own interdimensional plantation. But that dream needed more time in the other world, which meant the door needed more upgrades. For now, I had a more immediate problem. The orphanage kids had school tomorrow. My workforce was disappearing. Jean Auntie could still come, and she offered to bring other people from the orphanage network, adults who'd aged out but hadn't found stable work. I bumped everyone's pay to 200 yuan per day because, well, I could actually afford it now. Gave Jean Auntie a spare key to the villa, so she could start without me. With the home team sorted, I loaded up my newly upgraded cart, fresh banner, iron griddle, the works, and headed to the evening stall. I arrived late. All the good spots were taken. I squeezed into a corner, barely fitting. But the second my first pancake hit the griddle, the scallion aroma did its thing. People literally drifted away from other stalls mid-order, following their noses to me. That's when Zhao Chong, the fried skewer guy, decided he'd had enough. He slammed his strainer against his wok like a gavel. Fancy pancakes, no meat. How good can they be? Then he and his wife pulled the pettiest move I've ever seen. They dragged their table and chairs from behind their stall to directly in front of mine, blocking my customers. Then, cherry on top, they plopped their garbage can right where my line was forming. Hey, could you move that trash can? I can't do business like this. Is this your land? I'll put my stuff wherever I want. But you're blocking we were here first. You're on our turf. This was complete garbage, and everyone knew it. The spot was empty when I parked. He moved his stuff after seeing my customers. I've been doing street food long enough to know when someone's picking a fight. And I was alone against a couple. Starting a brawl would only hurt me. The other vendors? All watching from the sidelines. Nobody was going to help. Then I noticed something beautiful. A pretty girl in my line was filming everything on her phone. She had someone holding a light for her. Some kind of internet streamer. Cameras rolling?
Perfect.
Time to play this smart. I raised my voice so everyone could hear. Sorry everyone, looks like I'll need a minute to relocate. As you can see, a table and a trash can have suddenly appeared in front of my stall. A customer spoke up. Hey buddy, isn't that a bit much? She's just a girl trying to make a living. Why are you blocking her? Zhao Chong sneered. Mind your own business. Don't like it? Don't eat here. Excuse me? What did you just say? You heard me. People who can only afford street food shouldn't be playing hero. Go look in a mirror. Oh, Zhao Chong. Sweet, stupid Zhao Chong. You just insulted your own customer base. At a street food market, where everyone is eating street food, including the several very large men standing right in front of you. I didn't even have to do anything. Those large men flipped his table, kicked his garbage can across the street, then stood in front of him, arms crossed, and asked very calmly, So, are we allowed to help now? Zhao Chong looked up at several guys who were each a full head taller than him. The fight drained out of his body like water from a bathtub. He quietly picked up his furniture, moved everything back to where it belonged, relocated the garbage can. Didn't say another word. I was bursting with joy inside, but kept it cool. Then I made extra-large pancakes for each of my defenders. Free of charge. Heroes deserve big pancakes. The rest of the line watched jealously, kicking themselves for not stepping up sooner. But honestly, with those guys handling it, there wasn't much for anyone else to do. Zhao Chong and his wife sat there in silence as I sold out every last pancake. Again, don't mess with the pancake lady.
She's got an army.
On my way home, I couldn't resist one last jab at Zhao Chong. Hey, big bro, the spot's all yours. Enjoy. His wife pinched him. He threw down his stuff and stormed off. Beautiful. But karma wasn't done with them yet. Remember that girl filming everything on her phone? Turns out she was a food blogger with a big following. She'd come specifically because a fan tipped her off about my pancakes, and she accidentally captured the entire confrontation on livestream. Thousands of viewers watched Zhao Chong bully a small girl's food cart in real time. Then she tasted my pancake, went absolutely wild on camera, and told all her followers they had to try it. The next few days, my customer numbers exploded. And people kept showing up at Zhao Chong's stall just to give him dirty looks and lecture him. Some even came in groups. He never bothered me again. But that's getting ahead of myself. Next morning, Jean Auntie arrived with 2 new helpers, a married couple, both deaf. They couldn't hear, but they could cook, and that's what mattered. I also hired a young woman named Zhang Jia, a college-educated accountant, to handle orders, bookkeeping, and packaging. 200 yuan a day. I handed her my brand new phone and painted her a magnificent vision of the future. Things are a bit rough right now. Manual record keeping, pen, and paper. But once I open a real store, I'll get you a computer. She stared at the phone. Then at the haunted mansion. Then at me. I could see, is it too late to run? Scrolling across her eyes. With the team handled, I tried something bold. I rode my electric scooter through the space-time door. It worked. The scooter went through. Game changer. I used the weed whacker to clear a proper road all the way to the mushroom field, then scooted over there in style. Today's chicken for haul was smaller, mostly open caps. Only 1 basket's worth. The bonanza was winding down. I grabbed as many onions and goji leaves as I could. The onion patch was holding up okay, but the goji plants were nearly stripped bare. New leaves hadn't grown back yet. I really needed to start farming over there, but that required more time, which required more door upgrades, which required more energy. The eternal cycle. Mushroom revenue dropped to under 30,000 yuan. Still amazing money, just not yesterday's insane numbers. The delivery orders were way up though, entire offices placing bulk orders. The kitchen was chaos in the best possible way. I started thinking seriously about opening a real restaurant. Running a food operation out of a haunted villa worked for now, but eventually the rich neighbors would complain about delivery scooters zooming through their peaceful streets. Couldn't afford a store yet, but I could buy equipment. I hit up a second-hand market and scored a dough mixer for 1,200 yuan, could handle 20 pounds at once, and a noodle press for 300. No more kneading by hand until my arms fell off. Then the next day, something unsettling happened. When I arrived in the cave, my stuff had been moved. I always left supplies in the cave. Weed whacker, burlap sacks, tools. Nobody had ever been here. No humans, no animals, nothing. But now 2 of my 5 burlap sacks were missing. My blood went cold. Wild animal? Some creature using the cave as a den? I grabbed my fruit knife and searched every inch of the cave. Nothing. Rode the scooter around my cleared paths. Nothing. No tracks, no droppings, no signs of anything. Weird. Unsettling. But I had mushrooms to find. I picked a new direction and started clearing brush. That's when I spotted a massive fallen tree, and growing all over it, on the trunk, the branches, everywhere, were shiitake mushrooms. Hundreds of them. Thousands maybe. Layer upon layer, cap upon cap, covering the dead wood like nature's own mushroom farm. Some of the mature ones were bigger than my hand. Picking shiitakes off a log is basically free money with no effort. Just grab and pull. I filled 2 sacks in no time and loaded them onto the scooter. I was so excited I didn't notice something important. Up in a nearby tree, hidden among the leaves, a pair of eyes was watching me. Someone or something had been observing me this whole time. And I rode away without a clue. Made it back through the door, right on time. As usual, wild shiitake mushrooms, energy 366.9, Energy threshold exceeded 1000. Upgraded to level 1 space-time door. Daily travel time, 2 hours. Trips per day, 1. Next upgrade, 10,000 energy points. Level up again. 2 hours per trip now. I kept a straight face, but inside I was doing cartwheels. Less than 2 weeks, and the door had upgraded twice. I'm basically a speedrunner. Upstairs, my team got to work packing mushrooms. Zhou Ziwang looked disappointed. No chicken fur today, boss. He Wenfeng smacked the back of his head. You think premium mushrooms just grow on trees? Wait, bad example. But you know what I mean. We packed 176 boxes of perfect shiitakes. 8+ pounds of ugly ones went into the staff meal pile. Before selling anything, I needed to taste test. So I made shiitake meat sauce noodles for the team. Diced 5 flour pork, chopped the mushrooms, fried everything with bean paste, oyster sauce, soy sauce, and a touch of sugar. Simmered for 10 minutes. When I lifted the lid, the smell physically pulled everyone's heads toward the kitchen like magnets. I made myself a bowl first. 1 bite, and I knew. The shiitakes were incredible. Tender but chewy, the sauce rich without being heavy, every noodle coated in this deep amber umami glaze. I scraped my bowl, so clean it looked washed. When I looked up, everyone was scraping their bowls. He Wenfeng was already on bowl number 2. Zhang Jia, my new accountant who'd been planning her escape all morning, had sauce all over her face and stars in her eyes. Boss, no wonder you hired an accountant before you even have a store. With food like this, I'll have my computer and desk in no time. I'm staying until you go bankrupt. That settled it. Shiitake meat sauce noodles, added to the delivery menu at 18 yuan per serving. Now for selling the raw mushrooms. I priced them at 230 yuan per box, 1 pound each. Reasonable for wild mushrooms, right?
Wrong.
To normal people, shiitakes are the most boring mushroom on earth. Every supermarket sells them for next to nothing. My VIP group barely blinked. Only one person ordered 10 boxes. It was Li Zhonghuai, the billion-dollar CEO who'd been assigned mushroom sniping duty by his grandfather. Except he'd misunderstood the assignment. Old Li, why did you buy shiitakes? Li Zhonghuai. You told me to buy whatever she posted. Old Li. I said buy chicken fur. Chicken fur, Li Zhonghuai. She doesn't have chicken fur. Only shiitakes. Old Li grumbled, but didn't return them. Shiitakes were shiitakes. How good could they really be? I called Boss Zhu, who'd been my mushroom whale. He was sad about no more chicken fur, but only took 20 boxes of shiitakes. My restaurant can't use that many, sorry. Fine. I wasn't worried. Once he cooked with these shiitakes, he'd be back begging for more. That evening at the Li Mansion, their private chef made vegetarian abalone. Braised shiitakes scored with crosshatch patterns to look like the real thing, slow-cooked in premium stock, plated with broccoli, and drizzled with glossy sauce. Old Li reached for one, mostly out of curiosity. 1 bite. His eyebrows shot up. The mushroom was thick and meaty, bursting with concentrated umami, with a texture that genuinely rivaled abalone, springy, rich, satisfying. The sauce clung to every groove, delivering wave after wave of flavor. He grabbed a second one before he'd even finished chewing the first. Just like I predicted. Nobody respects the humble shiitake until they taste mine. Then suddenly, everyone's a believer. The shiitake redemption arc had begun. Old Li's 10-year-old granddaughter took one lick of sauce off her chopsticks, and her eyes went supernova. Wow, this is amazing. The braised shiitake platter got demolished so fast the chef had to emergency cook 2 more batches. Old Li, patting his stuffed belly, turned to his grandson and said with a straight face, "Good job buying those shiitakes, Zhonghuai. Excellent choice." This from the man who yelled at him for buying shiitakes instead of chicken for literally hours ago. Selective memory is a superpower in wealthy families. Boss Zhu had the same experience at his restaurant. He'd only bought 20 boxes to be polite. Then his customers went crazy for the shiitake dishes. He ran to the kitchen, tasted one himself, and immediately called me. Got more shiitakes? I'll take everything. Just like I predicted. Total shiitake revenue, 40,480 yuan. plus another 20K from delivery orders and the stall. Running total, roughly 200,000 yuan earned. I celebrated for about 3 seconds before reality punched me. I still owed over 7 million. 200,000 was a lot for a girl who'd been selling breakfast buns 2 weeks ago, but against that mountain of debt, a pebble. Next morning, I paid 2 months of property fees. The property lady looked like she wanted to mention the 2 years of back payments I still owed, but was too scared I'd stop paying altogether. I put on my best sad face. I want to pay everything, I really do, but I'm broke. This money is from selling mushrooms. I gave it to you the second I got it. You should be grateful. Hey, are you hiring? Maybe I could work here and pay it off. She practically shoved me out the door. Couldn't risk me taking her job. Now, today's harvest mission. I brought lots of burlap sacks. 2 whole hours to fill them with shiitakes from that giant dead tree. Easy money. I was happily climbing all over the fallen trunk, stuffing mushrooms into bags, having the time of my life, when, bang, I nearly fell off the tree. Something dark flashed through the undergrowth. My electric scooter crashed to the ground. The weed whacker tumbled off it. And sticking out of my scooter was a sharpened wooden spear. Not a branch. A weapon. Someone had thrown it. There was someone here. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my teeth. I pulled out my fruit knife, my trusty, pathetic little fruit knife, and climbed to the highest point on the fallen tree. The forest went dead silent. Then a bush rustled. I snapped my head toward it. A pair of sharp eyes stared back at me.
It was a boy.
Dark skin, maybe 9 or 10 years old, crouching like an animal. He was wearing my missing burlap sack around his waist, like a skirt. So that's where my sacks went. Mystery solved. Stolen by a feral child for fashion purposes. He held another sharpened stick, watching me with a mix of hostility and curiosity. He looked like a tiny caveman who'd raided my supplies.
Who are you?
Why'd you break my scooter? I tried to keep my voice steady. He tilted his head.
Said nothing.
Where are your parents? He bared his teeth at me and made growling sounds. No words. Just noises. Like a wild animal that had never learned to speak. We stared at each other for what felt like forever. Then, apparently deciding I wasn't a threat, he moved.
Lichtning fast.
He darted to my fallen scooter, grabbed the weed whacker, and started backing away. This little caveman was robbing me. Hey, that's mine. Put it down. He ignored me completely and bolted into the forest. Oh, heck no. That weed whacker costs money. I jumped off the tree, realized I'd never catch him on foot, scrambled onto my scooter, which still worked despite the spear hole, and chased him. I was gaining on him fast. Too fast. The boy looked back, saw a screaming woman riding a metal beast straight at him, and did the most insane thing possible. He stopped, turned around, and leaped at me with his wooden stick raised. I couldn't brake in time. He slammed into the scooter and went flying 2 or 3 meters through the air. Then he hit the ground and didn't move. OHNO, OHNO, OHNO. I threw myself off the scooter and ran to him. His right leg was scraped raw, blood mixing with dirt. His forehead was split open, bleeding freely. And he was clutching his stomach, which meant possible internal injuries. I wanted to say, I'll take you to the hospital, but this wasn't the 21st century. This was an alien wilderness. There was no hospital. I pulled out tissues and reached toward his wounds. He snapped his head up, eyes blazing, and snarled at me like a cornered wolf. I'm not going to hurt you. I'm trying to help. More snarling. More bared teeth. I traveled to another dimension, discovered a feral child wearing my grain sack, accidentally ran him over with an electric scooter, and now he was bleeding on the ground growling at me while I held a packet of tissues and a fruit knife. This was not in the business plan. I stared at the boy. A thought hit me. Can you not talk? He immediately fired off a long string of sounds. Fluent, confident, completely incomprehensible. Like someone put a language in a blender. So he could talk. We just didn't speak the same language.
Great.
First contact with an alien civilization, and I didn't bring a phrase book. He was hurt, bleeding, and skinny as a stick. Yeah, He tried to spear my scooter and rob my weed whacker, but he was also a child. A dirty, starving child wearing my stolen grain sack as pants. I couldn't just leave him lying there. I dug through my backpack, the emergency kit I'd packed on day one and never touched. Water bottle, rope, lighter, phone, chocolate bars, and a first aid kit. I'd prepared it in case I got hurt. Instead, my first patient was my first mugger. His leg wound wasn't terrible. Scraped skin, lots of blood, no broken bones. I rinsed off the mud with water and cleaned it with alcohol wipes. He fought me at first, thrashing and growling. But somewhere in the middle of me gently washing his wounds, something clicked in his little brain. He went still. His eyes shifted from, "I will end you," to "Wait, are you helping me?" I wrapped his leg in gauze. Then tackled his forehead, a nasty 3-centimeter gash from hitting a tree after I, accidentally ran him over. Still had bark and dirt embedded in it. I tore a sleeve off my jacket, dampened it, and carefully cleaned around the wound before disinfecting and bandaging it. The alcohol had to sting, but this kid didn't flinch, didn't cry, didn't make a sound. Tougher than most adults I know. When I finished, his eyes had completely changed. No more hostility.
Just
Curiosity. I unwrapped a chocolate bar, ate a small piece to show it was safe, and offered him the rest. He sniffed it, looked at me, looked at the chocolate, looked at me again, then snatched it and shoved it in his mouth. His eyes went enormous.
sweet.
He'd never tasted sweet before. I couldn't understand his language, but I could read his face perfectly. This was the greatest thing that had ever happened to him. Now, here's what I pieced together later about this kid. His name was Yun, from something called the Toothstone tribe. His dad got hurt hunting, couldn't work anymore, and their family's food rations got slashed to a third. His little sister was 5. His dad was in a cave with a raging fever, and everyone in the tribe had basically written him off as dead. They had no doctor, no priest as they called it. So when Yun saw me cleaning wounds and handing out sweet treats, his little brain went, priest, healer, magic person. He started talking at me frantically, pleading from the sound of it. I understood exactly 0 words. Where are your parents? Gurgle, gurgle, blah, blah. Someone's going to come find you, right? Because just to be clear, you attacked me. You stole MY stuff. You ran into MY scooter. This is not my fault. Gurgle, blah, blah, gurgle. Total communication failure. When I started packing up to leave, his face crumbled.
Pure heartbreak.
I gave him all my remaining chocolate. Here, take it all. And please don't tell your parents I hit you with a vehicle. He clutched those chocolate bars like they were sacred treasures. Then I retrieved my weed whacker, left him sitting there, and rode back to the mushroom tree. Look, I felt bad, but I had 2 hours max and mushrooms to pick. Nothing, not guilt, not feral children, not interdimensional language barriers, was going to stop me from making money. The kid clearly knew this forest. He'd been watching me since yesterday. He could find his way home. I picked mushrooms until my time ran out, hauled 3 sacks back through the door, and moved on with my life. What I didn't know was that after I left, little Yun limped all the way to my cave on his injured leg. He saw my equipment still there, and his face lit up like sunrise. The priest would come back tomorrow. He was sure of it. He rushed home to his tribe, where everyone stared at his clean white bandages, the cleanest thing anyone had ever seen in that village. He told them he'd met a healer. Nobody believed him. Their tribe had 78 people total, 28 men, 18 women, 20 elderly, 12 kids. They lived near something called the Valley of Evil. Why would a healer come here? Probably just a criminal exile. The adults shrugged. Yun went home defeated. His little sister Rain was sitting by their unconscious father. "Brother, are you hurt?" He pulled out 3 chocolate bars from his grain sack pants. "A healer gave me these. They're the most delicious thing in the world. Try one." Rain's eyes went wide. Somewhere across dimensions, a broke street vendor with no idea she'd just become a deity figure to a starving tribal family was counting mushroom profits and planning tomorrow's pancake inventory. That would be me. Little Yun and his sister Rain split 1 chocolate bar between them. Fed another one to their unconscious father. It melts in your mouth, perfect for someone who can't eat on their own. Save the last one for later. These kids were rationing chocolate like it was medicine, which, to them, it basically was. Then Yun went to find his best friend Peng, 2 years older, and asked for help with the craziest plan a 10-year-old has ever conceived. Drag is dying. Father across forbidden territory to find the healer lady, who rides a metal beast and hands out magical sweets. Peng's reaction. Absolutely not. That's the Valley of Evil. My parents will kill me. See, the area where I'd been happily picking mushrooms and riding my scooter? The locals called it the Valley of Evil. Cursed land. Enter and you go insane, get lost in mysterious fog, and die. The whole region was basically their version of a horror movie setting. Yun's tribe only lived near the valley because they'd been driven out of their original territory by a bigger tribe. Nobody went in voluntarily. Ever. But Yun was desperate. My dad is going to die. If he dies, me and Rain won't survive winter. Nobody in the tribe will feed us. I have to try. Peng caved. They built a stretcher from sticks and animal skin rope, loaded Yun's unconscious father onto it, and started the most stressful stealth mission in tribal history. Midday sun. Everyone napping in caves. 2 kids dragging a grown man on a wooden sled across rocky ground, trying not to make a single sound. Every scrape of wood on dirt nearly gave Peng a heart attack. They got spotted once. Yun smoothly lied, just taking Dad to wash by the path. The guard bought it. Peng's palms were waterfalls of sweat. Are you sure about this? Peng whispered. If the tribe finds out you went into the Valley of Evil, they'll never let you come back. You'll be cursed. I'm sure. They reached the valley's edge, marked by a river called the Evil River. Water that flowed out of cursed land. Even during droughts, nobody drank from it. Peng looked into the dense forest beyond, and his legs started shaking. This is as far as I go. Yun nodded. Thanks, Peng. Go home. Peng turned to leave, stopped, looked back. Good luck, Yun. Then Yun heard footsteps behind him. Not Peng. His 5-year-old sister Rain had followed them the entire way. I want to stay with Daddy. This child had been told every day that her father was dying. She'd been sitting by his side nonstop, as if her presence alone could keep him alive. When she saw Yun take him away, she just followed. Yun couldn't send her back alone. So now it was a family trip to the Curse Valley. A boy with a bandaged head, a 5-year-old girl, and an unconscious man on a stick stretcher. They waited outside my cave all night and all morning. Meanwhile, back in my world, I'd sold 80,000 yuan worth of shiitakes. Mushroom money was now funding my entire operation. I decided to keep the remaining shiitakes for my own cooking instead of selling them raw. The shiitake meat sauce noodles were outselling everything else anyway. The next morning, before heading through the door, I packed supplies. I'd been thinking about that boy. Was his wound infected? Did anyone find him? So I bought children's medicine, painkillers, antibiotics, fever reducers, a bottle of water, snacks, and even a set of kids' clothes because the poor thing was literally wearing my grain sack. Also, a stun baton, because that child had tried to spear me yesterday and I wasn't taking chances. I stepped through the door, alert and cautious. The cave was empty. Good. I walked toward the entrance and heard voices. Familiar gurgling sounds. The boy from yesterday. But wait, there were other voices too. I poked my head out. There was Yun, jumping to his feet the moment he saw me, babbling excitedly. Next to him, a tiny girl with enormous scared eyes. And on the ground behind them, strapped to a crude wooden stretcher, an unconscious adult man, burning with fever.
Clearly dying.
Yun had brought his whole family to my cave in the Cursed Valley because he believed I was a magical healer who could save his father. I stared at this scene, an injured boy, a terrified toddler, and a man on death's door, all looking at me with desperate hope in their eyes. I'm a street food vendor. I sell pancakes. My medical qualifications consist of owning a first aid kit I bought at a convenience store. But they didn't know that. To them, I was the priest from the Forbidden Valley who rides thunder beasts and dispenses miracles. No pressure. So the kid came back. And he brought guests. There he was, bandaged head, limping leg, waving at me like I was his long-lost best friend. Next to him, a tiny girl about 5 years old, also shirtless. And behind them, lying on a stretcher made of sticks and animal hide, a full-grown man, unconscious, massive, built like someone who wrestled bears for a living, currently dying. I put away the stun baton. The only conscious members of this family were an injured 8-year-old and a kindergartner. Not exactly a threat. Yun started doing charades at me, pointing at the man, pointing at his own bandages, pointing at me. Even across a total language barrier, the message was painfully clear. He pulled me over to his father and showed me the wounds. I almost threw up. The man's leg had been torn open by some animal. I could see bone through the rotting flesh. The wound was infected, oozing yellow-green pus, and I'm sorry, but I have to say it. There were maggots in there. Living, wriggling maggots. I stumbled backward. Both kids dropped to their knees and started bowing, foreheads to the ground, crying. I didn't need a translator for that.
You.
Want me to fix this? I pointed at the man, then at myself. Frantic nodding.
Okay.
Let me review my qualifications here. I sell scallion pancakes. My medical training consists of putting band-aids on my own paper cuts. And these children wanted me to perform emergency surgery on a man whose leg was basically rotting off. But then I looked at the situation from their side. They were living in a primitive society. No doctors. No medicine.
No hospitals.
Yesterday, I cleaned a scrape and wrapped it in gauze, and this kid decided I was the greatest healer he'd ever seen. And honestly, with a first aid kit and some basic hygiene knowledge, I probably was the most qualified medical professional within 100 miles of here. If I didn't help, this man was dead within days.
Fine.
I'll try. But if he dies, that is not my fault. Understood, they nodded. They definitely didn't understand. But I said it for my own conscience. I laid out my supplies like a surgeon prepping for an operation, which I basically was. With a fruit knife, sterilized with fire, used to cut away dead flesh. Water bottle, clean wounds. Lighter, make fire. Painkillers, antibiotics, fever meds, keep the patient alive. Alcohol, bandages, gauze, saline, everything for my little first aid kit. The kids' clothes I bought? Torn into strips for extra bandages. When I flicked the lighter to start a fire, both kids stared at me like I'd just performed actual magic.
Right. Primitive society.
They'd never seen a lighter before. To them, I literally just created fire from my fingertip. My healer reputation upgraded. I sterilized the knife, took a deep breath, and started cutting out the dead flesh. It was as horrible as it sounds. The man convulsed in his sleep and groaned like a wounded animal. My hands were shaking, but if I left even a scrap of infected tissue in there, the infection would kill him. I scraped and cut until I hit clean, red, living flesh. Flushed everything with water. The runoff was the most disgusting liquid I've ever seen in my life. Then the saline wash. The man's eyes flew open. He started thrashing. Full panic mode. Hold him down. The kids didn't understand my words but got the message. They threw themselves on their father, this tiny girl and injured boy trying to pin down a full-grown hunter. Yun whispered something in his dad's ear, and the man slowly stopped fighting. I bandaged the arm first. Then the leg, way worse, took forever. By the time I finished, over an hour had passed. I crushed up painkillers, antibiotics, and fever meds into powder, mixed them with water, and got them down his throat. He'd briefly woken during the worst parts, but was unconscious again. That's everything I can do, I told the kids, mostly telling myself. The rest is up to him. I separated out another dose of meds, wrapped them in tissue, and handed them to Yun with elaborate hand gestures indicating, give these to your dad later. Whether he understood the timing, I had no idea. I'd come back tomorrow and dose him again myself. Then I pulled out 5 scallion pancakes. I'd packed them specifically in case the boy was still here and hungry. The moment I opened the container, both kids' noses twitched. Their eyes locked onto the food with an intensity that broke my heart. Go ahead. Eat. Rain was too scared to take any. Yun grabbed them, gave his sister one, and they ate. 1 pancake each. Then they stopped. They saved the other 3. For their father. These starving children, who probably hadn't eaten a proper meal in days, who'd just been handed the most delicious food they'd ever smelled, ate one each and saved the rest for their dying dad. I turned away so they wouldn't see my face. Stupid dust in this stupid cave, making my stupid eyes water. Saving lives is exhausting. Way harder than picking mushrooms. After patching up Yun's dad, I still had some time left, so I rushed over to grab the last of the shiitakes from that dead tree. Yun followed me, limping on his injured leg, and started picking mushrooms alongside me. The kid was confused, though. I could see it on his face. In his world, they apparently called shiitakes ghost umbrellas and thought they were poisonous. He had no idea why the great healer lady was collecting toxic fungi. But he helped anyway because that's what you do when someone just performed surgery on your father with a fruit knife. I tried to stop him. Rest. Your leg. Your head. But these primitive humans were apparently built different. To Yun, dragging a grown man on a stretcher through forbidden territory all night was just a light workout. A scraped leg was nothing. With his help, we stripped that tree clean. Then I patted the back seat of my scooter.
Hop on.
I'll give you a ride back. His first time on a motorized vehicle went about how you'd expect. I twisted the throttle. The scooter lurched forward. Yun flew backward into the cargo box, let out a shriek like a startled bird, and grabbed my clothes so hard I thought he'd rip them off. I may have gone a little faster just to mess with him. The wind whipped past us, trees blurring by. His terrified yelp slowly transformed into wide-eyed wonder. Eventually, he actually let go with one hand and stretched it out to feel the wind through his fingers. From abject terror to pure joy in about 30 seconds. Kids are resilient. I dropped him at the cave entrance, warned him not to go inside my cave, and told him to take his family home. We communicated mostly through pointing and pantomime, but he got the message. Cave equals mine. Don't enter.
Don't tell anyone about me.
He nodded seriously, took 2 steps back from the entrance, and waved his hands in a wouldn't dream of it gesture. Back home, the shiitake hall was small, so I had Jean Andy turn everything into meat sauce instead of selling raw mushrooms. Boss Zhu was disappointed. Lu boss, please remember me when you get more good stuff. He'd built his restaurant's reputation on my ingredients over the past few days. Every customer who tried the chicken fur or shiitake dishes became a repeat visitor. He was hooked on my supply, and I was basically his dealer. With Jean Auntie running the delivery operation smoothly, I finally did something I'd been dreaming about. I paid off my student loan. All 40,000 yuan.
Gone. Done.
0. A month ago, I was a broke street vendor agonizing over that debt. Now it was just erased. I stood there at the bank feeling lighter than I'd felt in years. Riding that high, I looked at the chicken blood vine drying in my yard. I hadn't sold any yet, and it had decent energy value, so maybe it was worth something special? I wrapped up a piece, found a traditional Chinese medicine shop on my phone, and headed over. The pharmacy was small and cozy. 3 walls of floor-to-ceiling medicine cabinets, hundreds of tiny drawers labeled with herb names, the whole place smelling like ancient remedies. A girl in a white coat greeted me. Can I help you? Hi, do you buy medicinal herbs? Apologetic smile. Sorry, we have established suppliers. We don't buy from individuals. I was turning to leave when a young man behind her looked up from his work. Wait, what kind of herb? Hope. I whipped out my chicken blood vine. My relative found this in the mountains. It's wild chicken blood vine. His face fell immediately. Sorry, we don't buy chicken blood vine. Chicken blood vine was too common. They only purchased rare, expensive stuff. Wild ginseng, lingji mushrooms, ox gallstones. The everyday herbs came from their regular suppliers. I'd already pulled the thing out, so I figured I might as well ask. Could you at least tell me if it's any good? And what it might be worth? My relative is from a rural village and doesn't know these things. I don't want to get ripped off when I sell it elsewhere. Might as well get a free appraisal while I'm here, right? The pharmacy girl, Chu Jinjing, a med student intern, agreed to take a look at my vine. She sliced off a cross-section, and her eyebrows immediately went up. Deep red color. Clear ring patterns inside, like tree rings but made of chicken blood. Glossy texture meaning high oil content. She sniffed it, slight iron smell. Exactly right. Then she dropped the slice in water. The water turned pink. Senior brother, come look at this. The young man, Kong Fan, who ran the shop, dragged himself over expecting something boring. One glance, and his face completely changed. He picked up the water glass, drank some of it, then stared at the vine like it was a winning lottery ticket. This is better than anything we have in stock, Jinjing whispered. Kong Fan turned to me with a completely different attitude than 5 minutes ago. This chicken blood vine is excellent quality. We'd like to buy it. How much do you have? From we don't buy that to give me everything in under 3 minutes. Interdimensional herbs strike again. About 100 and some pounds. Same quality? Processed. Same vine. Unprocessed. We don't know how. He offered 380 yuan per kilogram, way above what I'd found online. Since it was raw, and they'd need to dry and process it themselves, he said the price would be even higher if it were pre-treated. But honestly, 380 per kilo for something I'd hacked out of an alien jungle for free?
Sold.
I zipped home, had Huang Peng help me pack it all up, and hauled everything back to the shop, Qinghe Pharmacy, a family business Kong Fan had inherited. While they were weighing my vine, some guy in a fancy suit walked in. Jinjing took one look at him and rolled her eyes, so hard I thought they'd get stuck. This was Zheng Xingming, Kong Fan's college rival. He'd come to brag about landing a position at the Provincial First Hospital, the most prestigious hospital in the region. Clearly hoping Kong Fan would be jealous. I was going to recommend someone for their new Chinese medicine department, he said loudly, but I guess some people think they're too good for real hospitals. Nobody took the bait. Jinjing told him to get lost. Kong Fan kept weighing my vine, like the guy didn't exist. Zheng Xingming eventually stormed out, promising that Kong Fan would come crawling to him someday. The drama was entertaining, but I had money to collect. 146 pounds total. 73 kilograms. That's 27,740 yuan, almost 28,000. 4 dried vines I'd gathered for free while wearing a grain sack on my head in the rain. I practically skipped out of there. After I left, Kong Fan started slicing the vine for drying and got more impressed with every cut. Best quality he'd ever seen. Then a woman named Ding Si walked in with a medical complaint. She hadn't had her period in 3 months. She'd been to multiple hospitals, been told it was stress and hormonal imbalance, given medications that didn't work, and finally told to see a therapist. Doctor, do I have cancer? The internet says it could be ovarian cancer. Kong Fan calmly told her it wasn't cancer, just hormonal issues that needed balancing. He prescribed 5 days of herbal medicine. And for one of the key ingredients in the prescription, he told Jinjing to use the chicken blood vine they'd just bought from me. Let's see if this new stock is as good as it looks, he said. My interdimensional vine was about to enter the Chinese medicine pipeline. From alien jungle to patient's medicine cup in under 24 hours. I wonder if the space-time door's ancestors ever imagined their magical creation would be used to supply a neighborhood pharmacy. Probably not. But hey, money is money. Meanwhile, back at the pharmacy, something wild was happening with my chicken blood vine. Kong Fan had prescribed it to that woman Ding Si, the one who hadn't had her period in 3 months. His prescription was supposed to take at least 5 days to show results. Normal timeline. Standard expectations. Day 3, she walked in beaming. Dr. Kong. IT came back. 3 days. 3. She'd been to multiple hospitals, taken Western medicine, been told to see a therapist, nothing worked. 3 days of herbal tea with my interdimensional vine, and her body just fixed itself. Not only that, she said she felt warm all over, had triple her usual energy, and her coworkers kept telling her she was glowing. Kong Fan checked her pulse and found it noticeably stronger than before. Her complexion had completely transformed. He played it cool, but internally he was freaking out. He knew his prescription wasn't supposed to work this fast. The only variable was my vine. He handed Jinjing a handful of vine slices. Take these home and drink them as tea.
4.
Research purposes. Jinjing. Ding Si went full evangelist. Sent the pharmacy a silk banner of gratitude. Posted her entire medical journey online, calling Kong Fan a miracle-working hot doctor. Women with similar problems saw her post, showed up at the pharmacy, and within a week, multiple patients reported their conditions improving dramatically. Then word got out that the pharmacy could help with period cramps. And that opened the floodgates. Every woman in the district who'd ever suffered through a painful cycle came knocking. Kong Fan accidentally became the city's most popular gynecological hero. All because of Vine from another dimension. He had no idea, of course. He just thought he'd found really good herbs. Anyway, back at my haunted villa, Grandma Zhu had brought a friend over for lunch. This friend, Mrs. Su, took one look at Villa 13 and her feet turned to concrete.
Lian Ye.
This is the amazing private kitchen you've been raving about? The ghost house. She proceeded to tell Grandma Zhu every horror story she'd ever heard about my villa, with generous embellishments. Grandma Zhu was shocked. Nobody had told her any of this. Ghosts? I'm here practically every day, and I've never seen anything. Must be rumors. Mrs. Su was whispering frantically about curses when Zhou Ziwang walked out carrying food containers and cheerfully announced, "Oh, hi, Auntie Zhu. Jean Annie made clay pot chicken today. Smells incredible. Clay pot chicken." Grandma Zhu grabbed Mrs. Su's arm and physically dragged her inside. Ghosts could wait. Chicken could not. Mrs. Su was not impressed at first. No proper sign. No restaurant setup. Just someone's kitchen in someone's possibly haunted mansion. She looked around skeptically, thinking she could get the same experience eating at literally anyone's house. Then the clay pot lid came off. A tsunami of aroma. Golden chicken oil glistening on top of bubbling broth. The pot was loaded with potatoes that had soaked up every drop of flavor, plump shiitake mushrooms, bright green celery, and garlic shoots. Mrs. Su swallowed involuntarily. Okay, maybe it looked decent. She started with the potato. Soft, falling apart, absolutely saturated with chicken and mushroom flavor. It melted on her tongue. Her eyes went wide. Then a piece of chicken. Tender, juicy, the skin golden and glossy, each bite releasing a wave of savory sweetness. Grandma Zhu nudged a shiitake into her bowl. Try this. Wild mushrooms. Trust me. One bite. The cap burst with concentrated broth and that deep, earthy mushroom flavor that made everything else taste like cardboard by comparison. Mrs. Su stopped talking entirely. She put her head down and just ate. Rice disappeared. Chicken vanished. She was shoveling food like someone might take it away. Grandma Zhu grinned triumphantly.
So?
How's the ghost house food, Mrs. Su? Mouth completely full, could only nod vigorously. In her head, she was thinking, if this place is haunted, the ghost must be a foodie. That's the only explanation for cooking this good. Things were going great. Too great, apparently. I'd expanded the evening menu, swapped out pancakes for hot noodles. Shiitake meat sauce noodles at 17 yuan, scallion oil noodles at 12. I bought folding tables and chairs from a second-hand market, hired Huang Prung and his wife Dong Qian full-time, room, board, and 4,500 yuan monthly salary, and rolled up to the stall 3 deep. The noodle debut was a smash. Dong Qian was a machine, boiling noodles, ladling sauce, sprinkling scallions, pouring hot broth. When the lid came off the sauce pot, the other vendors looked physically pained. One of them muttered, "This is worse than the pancakes." Several competing vendors couldn't resist anymore and came over to try a bowl themselves. After one taste, they finally understood why my line never ended. Tables were full. People who couldn't get seats ordered takeout. Everything was beautiful. Then a squad of people in uniforms showed up. Every street vendor's worst nightmare. Everyone started panic packing their carts. I was halfway to grabbing my stuff when I noticed, wait, those aren't city enforcement uniforms. That's the Food Safety Bureau. Even worse, in a way. City enforcement just tells you to move. These people can shut you down. The lead inspector walked straight to MY stall, flashed his badge, and said, "We received a report that your stall is using illegal ingredients." My brain short-circuited. Illegal? What? Someone reported that you're adding poppy husk to your food. Poppy husk. As an opium. Someone accused me of drugging my customers. I almost laughed. Almost. Then I got furious. Obviously, someone was jealous. My food was too delicious, so clearly it must contain narcotics. That was literally the logic. Nobody can cook this well. She must be spiking it with opioids. The inspectors quarantined my stall and started taking samples. A crowd gathered. Opinions were divided. I knew it. Too delicious to be natural. Oh, shut up. I eat here every day. Am I addicted? And oh, good cooking isn't a crime. Come on, nobody's food smells this good without something shady. Huang Peng was freaking out, signing frantically. Dong Qian looked terrified. I put on my calm face. We have nothing to hide. When the results come back, everyone will know the truth. 5 minutes later, test results negative. No poppy compounds detected. The inspector announced it publicly. The crowd erupted.
See?
Told you. Who puts expensive drugs in 5 yuan pancakes? She'd go bankrupt, honestly. I'd secretly wondered too. I literally can't go a day without eating here. Same, actually. But now I know it's just good cooking. I asked the inspector who reported me. Confidential, of course. But he leaned in and whispered, "Did you recently take business from someone?" That was all I needed. I looked across the street at Zhao Chong and his wife. They'd been grinning this whole time. The second my eyes met theirs, they flinched. It wasn't us. We didn't report anything. I didn't say it was you, I replied sweetly. The other vendors were already giving them the death stare. In the street food world, snitching to the authorities is the ultimate betrayal. Zhao Chong's social life was over. The inspectors started packing up to leave. Crisis over. Justice served. My food vindicated. Then a rough voice cut through the crowd. Hold on. She was selling pancakes before, not noodles. The noodles might be clean, but who's to say her pancakes didn't have poppy in them? I demand you test the pancakes too. I turn around slowly.
Are you kidding me?
I looked toward the voice and nearly choked on my own rage.
It wasn't Zhao Chong. It was the old lady.
The one who sold rock-hard pancakes in Black Death oil. The one I'd been peacefully coexisting with from a distance. The one I thought had given up on bothering me.
Nope.
She'd been the snitch all along. And now she was demanding the inspectors test my pancakes too, even though I wasn't even selling pancakes tonight. I stared at her with a smile that could freeze lava. Oh, it's you. The pancake grandma. You seem very concerned about my ingredients. Almost like, you're the one who reported me. She went red, then white, then red again, sputtering about food safety and public health, as if she hadn't been deep frying food in oil older than some of my customers. The other vendors weren't buying it. Everyone knew this was pure jealousy. The head inspector was clearly annoyed too. The Food Safety Bureau is not a weapon for business competition, he snapped, glaring at her. Filing false reports carries legal consequences. The old lady shrank. The inspectors turned to leave. And that's when I decided, enough is enough. Actually, sir, I'd like to file a report. Everyone froze. I pointed directly at the old lady. I'm reporting the use of severely degraded cooking oil that poses a serious health risk to consumers. I'd been watching her fry things in that black abyss she called oil for weeks. That stuff had probably been recycled since before I was born. The inspector's expression went from, I want to go home, to, oh, this just got interesting in half a second. He marched over to her stall and lifted the lid off her oil pot. Pitch black. Floating debris. Mysterious sediment at the bottom. It looked less like cooking oil and more like swamp water that had given up on life. How long have you been using this oil? And not long. Not long. This oil is so oxidized it could be classified as a chemical weapon. Do you know repeated use of degraded oil produces carcinogens? Her legs gave out. She collapsed to the ground, wailing.
I'm sorry.
I'll change it. Please don't take my equipment. They took her equipment. Every pot, every tool, loaded onto their vehicle for evidence. She sat on the pavement howling about her livelihood. Did I feel bad? Not for one single second. You want to report me for poisoning people while serving them food fried in liquid cancer? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. With the drama over, my stall got busier. People were practically celebrating. The government just certified her food is clean. Eat up, everyone. I sold out in record time. Next morning was glorious. For the first time in weeks, I didn't wake up at 4 a.m. Huang Peng and Dong Qian handled the breakfast shift without me. I slept until the sun was blazing and woke up feeling like a brand new human. Being the boss. Highly recommended. After stretching luxuriously, I packed for my daily dimension trip. Food for the cave family if they were still there, medicine refills, and 2 secret weapons, a bag of salt and a bag of sugar. Every novel I'd ever read about primitive societies said the same thing. Salt and sugar are worth more than gold. Maybe I could trade a bag of salt for a tiger pelt or something. A girl can dream. I also packed a picture book of Chinese medicinal herbs. If there were primitive people over there, maybe I could show them pictures and get them to help me find valuable plants. Outsourcing my foraging to the locals. Smart business. I locked the basement elevator. Too many people working in the villa now. Couldn't risk someone seeing me vanish into thin air, and stepped through the door. Outside the cave, the family was still there. Gurgle, gurgle. Yun and Rain came running toward me, grinning ear to ear. I reached out to pat their heads, then noticed their hair was matted with grease, dirt, and, oh God, lice eggs. Actual white lice eggs. My hand recoiled. Behind them, the father was awake. Still couldn't sit up, but his eyes were open, watching me with a mix of curiosity and wariness.
Well,
my patient survived the night. That's something. Now I just had to figure out how to communicate with a family of cave people, explore an alien wilderness, find a river, start a farm, and somehow make more money, all while trying not to touch anyone's hair. Another day in the life of Lu Chenyu, interdimensional entrepreneur and accidental deity. Yun's dad, his name was Xiao, I'd eventually figure out, was awake but not happy. When he found out they were in the Valley of Evil, the guy basically gave up on life. In their world, anyone who enters the cursed valley gets permanently exiled from their tribe. Even if he recovered, he could never go home. No tribe meant no survival. He was a dead man walking. But Yun, that kid was an optimist. The healer lady lives in the Valley of Evil, and she's fine.
she heals people.
If this is a curse, sign me up. I checked Yun's wounds first, healing nicely. Rebandaged him. Then moved on to Dad. Still running a low fever. Some of the wounds had gotten infected again. Pus, swelling, the whole disgusting package. I sterilized my trusty fruit knife and went back in, digging out the bad flesh, while 2 small children held their father down like a tiny surgical team. This man was tough. No anesthesia, getting his wounds carved open with a kitchen utensil, and he barely made a sound. Just clenched his jaw and endured. When I poured saline on the raw flesh, every muscle in his body locked up, but he didn't move.
Respect.
After rebandaging everything and dosing him with more meds, his foggy eyes focused on my face. He took in my clean skin, weird clothes, strange tools, and nodded slowly.
He believed his son now.
I was definitely some kind of magical healer. He opened his cracked lips and said, "Gurgle, gurgle, blah, blah. Yeah. I've officially given up on verbal communication with these people." I handed out 3 bowls of shiitake meat sauce noodles. The kids' eyes nearly fell out of their skulls at the smell, but Yun looked at his father for permission first. Xiao couldn't bring himself to refuse. His children were starving, and he already owed me his life. What's a little more debt? Then came the chopstick lesson.
Disaster.
Noodles are slippery. Chopsticks require fine motor skills. These kids had never held anything smaller than a wooden spear. Rain gripped the sticks like she was strangling them. Yun concentrated so hard he almost flipped his bowl over. Noodles slithered away from every attempt like tiny escape artists. I tried to teach them. I really did. After watching them sweat through 5 failed attempts, I gave up. They abandoned all technique and just used the chopsticks to shove noodles into their mouths. Sauce everywhere. Slurping sounds that could be heard across dimensions. They licked their bowls clean. Yun fed his father, who looked at me with growing confusion. In his world, nobody gives food to strangers. Food is survival. Sharing it means you're family, or you owe someone a life debt. Why was this mysterious healer being so generous? I didn't know what he was thinking, and honestly, I had mushrooms to collect. I stood up to leave, but little Rain grabbed my hand with her tiny, filthy fingers and pulled me toward an open area nearby. I looked up, and my jaw dropped. There was a mountain of freshly picked shiitake mushrooms piled on the ground. Yun had done this. While I was gone, this injured 8-year-old had limped through the forest on his bandaged leg, found more dead trees, and picked hundreds of mushrooms. Because he'd seen me collecting them and figured this was what I wanted. He scooped up a handful and tried to put them in my bag, watching my face with anxious, hopeful eyes. Like a cat bringing you a dead bird, except actually useful.
You
picked all these? For me, they filled 3 entire sacks. 70 or 80 pounds of premium mushrooms, gathered for free by my tiny volunteer workforce. I tried to pay them, pulled out the bag of salt I'd brought. In primitive societies, salt is literally worth its weight in gold. But Xiao refused. He pointed at his bandages, then at the empty noodle bowls, then at the mushrooms. The message was clear. These mushrooms were payment for saving his life and feeding his family. He wouldn't take anything more.
Fine.
Free mushrooms it is. I'm not going to argue with a man who just had surgery without anesthesia. As I loaded the sacks, a beautiful, terrible, wonderful idea blossomed in my brain. I could only stay here 2 hours a day, but they lived here full-time, and they clearly knew the forest. What if I could get them to find things for me? I reached into my backpack and pulled out my secret weapon, a full-color illustrated guide to Chinese medicinal herbs. Pictures. Hundreds of pictures of valuable plants. No reading required. If I could get this family to identify and collect herbs from these pictures while I was gone.
I de just inventa interdimensional outsourcing.
Getting Xiao to understand the herb-finding deal took a lot of pointing, gesturing, and creative mime work. But eventually he got it. Find the plants in this book, I give you stuff. Then I pulled out the salt. He didn't recognize it at first. A bag of pure white powder? He tried to refuse. You saved our lives. We can't take more from you. I poked a hole in the bag, sprinkled some on his finger, and told him to taste it. His eyes went enormous. He licked his finger again. Then again. Then he started trembling. See, in his world, salt comes in dirty gray-brown chunks full of sand and grit. It tastes bitter and harsh. Tribes literally go to war over salt. His own tribe was nearly out, and every year they'd send a raiding party on a months-long journey to trade for more, and only half would come back alive. And here I was, casually holding a bag of snow-white, pure, clean salt that I'd bought for about 3 yuan at the supermarket. To me, table salt. To him, a treasure beyond imagination. Xiao stared at me like I'd just handed him a bar of solid gold. Then he dragged himself upright on one knee, slammed his fist against his chest, apparently the most sacred oath gesture in his culture, and pledged his service. The kids copied him instantly. 3 people kneeling before me, swearing loyalty, over a bag of grocery store salt. I felt a tiny bit guilty. A tiny bit. Deal sealed. They find herbs from my picture book, I pay in salt. Interdimensional labor contract, signed and executed. Next order of business, finding that river. Xiao didn't know the valley, but Yin did. The kid jumped on the back of my scooter like a veteran passenger and guided me through the forest. 20 minutes of dodging trees and bumping over roots, and suddenly, open space. A gorgeous meadow covered in wildflowers, and beyond it, a crystal-clear river about 15 meters wide. My farming brain exploded. That flat meadow? Perfect for crops. The river? Irrigation sorted. This was my future interdimensional plantation, and it was beautiful. I parked by the river and started exploring. The water was so clear I could see every pebble on the bottom, fish darting around like silver arrows. Then I noticed the rocks near the shore were covered in tiny black things. I crouched down and picked one off. Mountain stream snails. I grew up eating these. Back at the orphanage, when money was tight, the teachers would take us to streams to collect snails for dinner. These were thumb-sized, clean shells with no mud or algae. The water here was pristine. I looked up and down the riverbank. Every rock was covered in them. Thousands.
Milio, med.
Dense black carpets of free protein. Stir-fried with chili. Simmered in soup. My mouth started watering so fast I almost drooled into the river. I only had one plastic bag, the one my lunch containers came in. I crammed it full of snails in under 5 minutes, barely restraining myself from diving in for more. Then, while walking along the bank, I spotted something else. Huge heart-shaped leaves, deep green, growing from the muddy shore. Tall stems. My brain did a double take.
Wait.
Is that taro? I rushed over and started digging at the base. Yun saw what I was reaching for and panicked. Gurgle blah blah, he was waving his arms frantically, trying to stop me. Apparently they called taro itchy grass and considered it poisonous. Fair enough. Raw taro does make your skin itch like crazy. Too late. I'd already yanked one out of the ground. It was the size of my head. A taro the size of a human head. This world didn't do anything small. Everything was supersized. The grass, the mushrooms, the vines, and now the root vegetables. Yun stared at me in horror, waiting for me to drop dead from touching the poison plant. I just stood there, cradling my giant taro like a newborn baby, grinning like a lunatic. Do you have any idea how much taro this size would sell for back home? Do you know how many taro desserts, taro buns, taro soups, and taro pastes I could make with this absolute unit? This river was a gold mine. Snails, taro, flat farmland, clean water, and a family of grateful locals willing to work for table salt. I was going to build an empire here. An actual, literal empire. Starting with one enormous taro and a bag of snails.